Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the first meeting of the Assembly Committee on Public Safety and Security for this 36th special session of the Nevada State Legislature. With that, Ms. Dory, will you please take the roll?
Assembly members Cole, Considine, Dahlia, Gonzalez, Gurr, Hanson, Hardy, Karras, Marzola, Moore, Orentlicker, Patchett, Roth, Chair Miller.
Here, thank you. Looks like all members are present. I'd like to welcome everyone here in Carson City, as well as those who are viewing from Las Vegas. Today, just to give an overview before we get into some of our housekeeping issues, we are here at the call of the governor to serve the people of Nevada to address a variety of issues concerning public safety and security. As you notice, this special committee has been named Public Safety and Security, but please grant me some grace if you hear me slipping and saying judiciary throughout the day. Before we start, a few housekeeping issues. First, asking that everyone silence their electronics, members as well as anyone in Vegas and here in Carson City. We do have an agenda. We may take items out of order. I will tell you today we are starting with Assembly Bill 4. Of course, the chair or members of the committee may request from testifiers to submit any supporting documentation. If you wish to testify, we ask that you sign in at the table, but that is not a requirement. So if you did not sign in at the table, you're still more than welcome to come forward and testify when that time arrives. When testifying, we ask that you turn on the microphone and clearly state your name and spell your name so that we have it for the record, and any affiliation if you're affiliated with any group. And if you can, please leave your business card with the committee secretary, because that also just assists with accuracy for the minutes and such, making sure we spell everything correctly. Again, as you know, well, I should first say this. As you know, this can be viewed, and you can submit testimony and review our documents through Nellis. However, right now, not all submitted exhibits have been uploaded because we are having some technical difficulties. So hopefully within minutes or soon, those technical difficulties on Nellis will be resolved, which means that you may then view those documents because they'll be uploaded immediately. You may also watch this hearing on our YouTube channel for Under the Assembly. When we get to testimony, each person will have 2 minutes to speak. We ask that you keep your comments to 2 minutes. If you find that you are going to say exactly what someone before you just said, we welcome you to say ditto, because that enables more people to participate in the process. We also ask that if you have any written comments, so for instance, if you are not able to finish all that you intended to say within those 2 minutes, or if you have other things to add, you're more than welcome to submit those in writing. You have up to 24 hours after the hearing to submit your comments or your position in writing. I, of course, expect courtesy and respect in all interactions from everyone in the room here in Carson City, as well as those in Las Vegas. You will notice that committee members will be on their laptops and a variety of electronics. Please do not take that as any sign of inattention. It is just people are up here busy researching and having discussions, and this is how we are able to view our documents. So you know, we will have another committee meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We're agendized for 9 a.m. tomorrow morning so that you're prepared for that. With today's agenda, again, we are starting with Assembly Bill 4. Time permitting, then we will move on to the second bill. If we do not have time afterwards, then that will be rolled over to tomorrow morning as well. With that, I would like to start committee introductions, because as you see, we have a few new members here. We have one that was just sworn in a few hours ago, and then of course we have one that's been around for a while, but he's joining us today. Right, Assemblyman Gurr? He's joining us for this special committee. So with that, we will go ahead and start with introductions. I will ask all members if you just briefly tell us what your name is, which district you represent, and how long you have served on our regular Standing Committee of Judiciary, as well as today. I, of course, will begin with Vice Chair Marzola.
Thank you, Chair. Assemblymember Elaine Marzola, I represent Assembly District 21. I just finished my 3rd session, so 6 long years. Thanks, Chair.
We could just move to the right, sure.
Thank you, Chair. And Alexis Hansen, Assembly District 32. Been serving since 2019, maybe my 3rd special session, I think. And also, my district incorporates, I live in Washoe County in Spark, so I'm a sparkler. And I cover 6 counties, 5 of them rural. So I've got urban and rural, which is fabulous. And I'll pass it over to my colleague but his district and mine, we share.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. I appreciate it. I thought you were going to say we butt up against each other. And we do, but only in the district lines. My name is Bert Gurr. I represent Assembly District 33, which is about the eastern third of the state of Nevada. It's 55,200 and some odd square miles. I have 1.49 people or persons per square mile in my district. And with that, this is my 3rd special session. Just finished my 2nd full session. And this is interesting to be on a kind of quasi-judiciary committee. Thank you.
Hello, Assemblywoman Lisa Cole, Assembly District 4, northwest part of Las Vegas. I've served 1 regular session. This is my 1st special session, at least as a legislator. So, thank you.
Joe Dahlia, Assembly District 29 in Henderson. I just finished my 1st regular session, and this is my 1st special. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Assemblymember Venice Karras. I represent District 10. This is also my 1st time serving in the legislature and my 1st special session. Also, my 1st time on / judiciary.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. My name is Assemblymember Cecilia Gonzalez. I was elected in 2020, so with many colleagues on this dais, a long 6 years.
Hi, everyone. Assemblymember Cynthia Moore. I represent Assembly District 11 in beautiful East Las Vegas and downtown, as well as North Las Vegas. I just finished my 1st regular session, and this is my 1st special session.
I'm brand new, so I don't even know the button arrangement here. So I'm Assemblyman Jason Patchett. I represent Assembly District 19, which is Henderson and Logandale, Overton, Moapa Valley, and also Mesquite. Yeah, I'm brand new, so thank you.
Assemblymember Erica Roth, proud to represent 8024 in Reno. This is my 1st special session. I've served 1 regular session.
Hi, I'm Assemblywoman Melissa Hardy. I just finished my 4th regular session. I was elected in 2019, and I was sitting here trying to count how many specials. I think I've actually served more special sessions than regular, like 5, 6 maybe. I represent Assembly District 22 in Henderson, and this is my 3rd. I've served on 3 regular sessions on judiciary.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Venetia Considine, and I have the honor of representing Assembly District 18, which is in southeast Las Vegas and a little bit of northeast Henderson. I was on judiciary my 2nd session, so this is a good thing to come back to. I miss it. Thank you. Other than that, what else was I supposed to say? Oh, so this is my 4th special session, and I've served 3 sessions. So as my colleague said, it's more special this time than regular sessions. Thank you for all coming today.
Good afternoon, David Orientlicker, Assembly District 20. just as I sit next to Assemblymember Considine here, our districts are next to each other on the southeast side of Las Vegas. This is my third, I've served 3 regular sessions, all on judiciary, and this is my 4th special session.
And I am Brittany Miller. I represent Assembly District 5 in Las Vegas. This is my 5th session. I don't even want to begin to think of how many specials. That would take me a minute. So this is my 5th session. 4 of the sessions I have served on judiciary. 2 of those sessions I have served as chair. And you all think I was elected in 2016, so those saying it's been a long 6 years, I don't even remember life before the legislature at this point. So welcome everyone, especially to our newest member, Assemblymember Padgett. Glad to have you here. And you're between 2 very experienced members, so feel free to lean over and ask questions, anything you need, okay? With that, we will go on to introduce our staff too, because as you see for special, staffing is different as well as even a little member. So we have some regular staff that have been with us for session after session, but for some new additions as well. So first I'd like to invite Ms. Dory to give some brief remarks about yourself. Unless you don't want to, you're okay. So I will read the script. We know how I don't do well reading scripts, but I'm going to read anyways for you. So Ms. Tracy Dory, Committee Secretary. She has served as committee staff on 5 regular sessions. She is a native Nevadan born in Elko. Ms. Dory worked for the state of Nevada for 30 years, 14 of them in the Office of the Attorney General and 16 years with the Department of Corrections. She retired in 2017. You don't look retired, but okay. And enjoys traveling, gardening, and raising chickens. Next, Ms. Latour, where are you?
She's downstairs.
Okay, she's downstairs, but she is a committee manager, so one of the people that does all of the work behind the scenes, writing minutes and organizing things and such. She has served in 2 regular sessions. She is serving as committee manager and the history clerk for the Assembly front desk during the 36th special session. Previously, she managed traffic departments for television stations and the cable industry for over 20 years. She loves spending time with her big fun-loving family, taking road trips and hiking with her border collie, Sailor. We are also fortunate enough to have Maria Velasquez, who is a research policy analyst in the research division, who will be assisting our committee policy analyst with the committee. She has served in the LCB for 2 regular sessions. Next, I will introduce and allow him to speak, our committee policy analyst, Cesar, go ahead.
Thank you.
Melgarejo.
Thank you, Chair. Cesar Melgarejo, Community Policy Analyst. I've been with the LCB for almost 8 years, and this is I've done a couple of regular sessions and in the Senate and 1 in the Assembly, and a couple of special sessions, and I'm happy to help.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Ms. Catherine Capron.
Kathleen Capron from the Legal Division. I started in 2018. This is my 3rd regular session, and I'm the Senior Principal Deputy Legislative Counsel.
Thank you. We also have Shiloh Reading, our committee assistant, right over here. Would you like to speak or? Okay. And last, I believe, well, that's here in the room, we have Mr. Drost from Fiscal, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Adam Drost, Principal Deputy Fiscal Analyst with the Fiscal Analysis Division, here to assist with any fiscal matters. I've been with the division and the LCB since 2012. Thank you.
I would thank you for that. I'd also like to acknowledge our audiovisual and public hearing staff, also known as AVH, who are also working behind the scenes to make sure that the meetings are broadcasted to the public. And so with that, thank you to all the staff who are coming back and joining us for this special session. With that, before we get into the bill hearings, we also have some committee policies. So I believe the The policies have been posted on Nellis? Oh, they're still trying to. Okay, but members, you should have copies of it if you'd like to take a moment to review. They're pretty standard and similar, pretty much exactly, for what happens during regular session. Let me see, where did I? No, I have one thing. I had my, oh, it's right here. So if you'd like to take a few moments, again, we have members that are new to our committee today. The ones, again, please just making sure that laptops and all electronics, the volume are turned down. And when we get to member questions, please contact me electronically to request a question. Okay, with that, are there any questions about the committee rules? Not seeing any. I will take a motion to adopt the policies for. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola to adopt the policies for the Assembly Committee on Public Safety and Security, and I have a second from Assembly Member Considine. With that, is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And the motion passes unanimously. With that, we will move through our agenda and move to just a few words before I open the bill hearing. To give context to this, again, you know that the governor has called this into special session. And this bill was heard on the last day of session. The bill that will be presented is the same version that was heard on the last day of session, but we all know there's a lot going on that last day, so for those who weren't able to participate, but it is the amended version that was passed out of the Assembly. We also want to make sure that the public and stakeholder have the ability to present and ask questions. Presenters, just like in regular session, you're asked to keep your presentation for your entire group to 15 minutes. We need to make sure there's enough time for members to ask questions. And so members, as we usually do, I will go through with the first round of questions to make sure that everyone gets a chance to ask their first question, and then I'll circle back so members, if you still have additional questions, can come back and ask additional questions. I also ask that a few points of clarification is that when you're asking for a follow-up to your first question, please make sure it is a follow-up for the purpose of clarification. Follow-up is not a brand-new second question. We will also, for this hearing, I will provide 1 hour of testimony in support, 1 hour of testimony in opposition, and 1 hour of testimony in neutral. Again, a point of clarification. Neutral is not to take a position. That is for usually groups or agencies who have facts to present, data to present, impact to express, but not taking a position one way or the other on the bill. So please make sure that you honor what a neutral testimony actually is, because I know it's confusing for everyone. With that, I will now open the hearing for Assembly Bill 4. So if the presenters would like to approach, please. And so once you're settled, I will have you all introduce yourselves. And again, it will be 15 minutes for a presentation for the whole group. So whenever you're ready, please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair, and members of the Assembly Public Safety and Security Committee. I hope I got that right. My name is Chris Hicks, C-H-R-I-S-H-I-C-K-S, and I'm the Washoe County District Attorney. I'm also the president of the Nevada District Attorneys Association. Would you like the other individuals up here to introduce themselves, or should I go through my testimony first?
I would say each person introduce themselves, and then we will begin with the testimony. And then once all three of you finish presenting, we will open up for questions.
Good afternoon, Chair Jennifer Noble, Jennifer, Chief Deputy District Attorney in Washoe County. And I am here on behalf of the Nevada District Attorneys Association and the Washoe County District Attorney's Office.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Jason Woodard, Jason Woodard, and I'm here on behalf of the Nevada Sheriffs and Chiefs Association.
Nevadans deserve to feel safe in their homes, their neighborhoods, and their schools. Governor Lombardo's Safe Streets and Neighborhoods Act, which, as was been mentioned, was initially heard in the last legislative session, is a responsible, common sense effort to protect our communities by addressing serious and repeat criminal behavior. By prioritizing accountability, victim protection, and public safety, this act offers balanced reforms that reflect the values of Nevadans across the political spectrum. This legislation strengthens protection for victims and ensures accountability for offenders in several important ways. It modernizes our stalking laws to include harassment and intimidation carried out through social media, and it expands the definition of domestic violence to include kidnapping and attempt crimes, recognizing the many forms of abuse and control. It enhances enforcement of firearm surrender orders, ensuring dangerous individuals actually comply with court directives intended to prevent future harm. The act protects vulnerable Nevadans by ensuring that those who abuse children or the elderly cannot automatically have their records sealed and later obtain positions of trust caring for those very same populations. It targets smash and grab thefts, ensures appropriate accountability for child pornography possession, and prioritizes victim restitution before court fines and fees. It also takes steps to reduce violence in our classrooms by requiring evaluations for students who seriously harm educators, and it strengthens our DUI laws to address the devastating impact of impaired driving. These targeted measures are meaningful steps toward building safer streets and stronger neighborhoods in our state. We are all here today because we serve the great people of Nevada, and a measure this important deserves to be completed. I'm grateful that this committee is willing to take it up again. Today is an opportunity for all of us to finish that work and move forward with reforms that will strengthen public safety in every corner of our state. I respectfully encourage and request your support. I'm now going to turn over the presentation to Chief Deputy District Attorney Jennifer Noble and Lieutenant Jason Woodard to walk you through key provisions of the bill. And I'm going to make room for other presenters. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon again, Chair Jennifer Noble. For the record, given the interest of time, I'm just going to move right into it. I'll start with Section 3 of the bill. This is grouped by category, subject matter for ease of reference. Hopefully that works for the committee. Under current law, the victim's family and household members are recognized as persons who may be targeted as part of a stalker's course of conduct. Section 3, Sub 1 expands this list of persons to people with whom the victim has or has had a dating relationship, but with whom the victim does not cohabitate. Section 311, Sub A through D, Sub D, specify that a course of conduct is 2 or more acts conducted in person or by electronic means, including using social media. They revise the definition applicable to what is commonly known as cyberstalking to include social media communications and similar means used to electronically publish, display, or distribute information. Section 311, Sub I, 1 and 2 defines social media communication to include private messaging on a social media platform or communication shared on a social media platform visible to other users. Section 13 pertains to domestic violence. Stalking is often part of the domestic abuser's efforts to control and terrorize their victim, but other crimes we might not typically associate with that cycle can also be part of it. Current NRS 33.018 provides a list of crimes that can constitute felony domestic violence when they are committed in the context of a dating or domestic relationship. Section 13 adds kidnapping and attempt offenses to the list of felonies that may constitute domestic violence. Sections 5, 11, 12, and 26 pertain to firearm surrender compliance. Nevada law requires courts to order convicted domestic batterers to surrender their firearms, and similar orders may be issued when a person is subject to an extended protection order or as a condition of pretrial release. These sections require those persons ordered to surrender their firearm to appear for a compliance hearing within 2 to 5 business days after these orders are issued. If the person is in custody when the order is issued, the hearing must be held within 1 day of their release. Now, the hearing may be canceled if the person, 1, provides documentation demonstrating that the firearm has been surrendered, destroyed, sold, or transferred. 2, a search warrant has been issued. And 3, the follow-up compliance hearing may also be canceled if the subject of the order submits an affidavit under penalty of perjury that they do not own any firearms, they don't possess any or have access to them. Section 4 pertains to possession of child pornography. In Castaneda v. State, the Nevada Supreme Court recognized the important public policy goal of tying punishment for possession of these materials, commonly known as child sexual assault materials now, to the number of images that a defendant possesses. But it explained that under our current scheme, Nevada law only allows for a single count to be charged, even if the defendant has lots of pictures of children being sexually abused. For example, in Castaneda, 19 such images, 1 felony count. Section 4 amends our statute to provide that each child depicted in the images may be charged as a separate felony count. Sections 21 through 24 prohibit automatic sealing for offenses against children or the elderly. Under current law, offenders charged with felony abuse, neglect, or exploitation of children or the elderly may access diversion, dismissal, and automatic sealing of their records. This new version of the bill, the last one you heard, still allows for diversion, dismissal, but it does away with automatic sealing. This gives potential employers the opportunity to learn of a person's history before they are hired to care of these vulnerable populations. Sections 28 and 29 prioritize restitution to victims consistent with the Nevada Constitution, commonly known as Marsy's Law. These sections require that any money collected from the defendant be first used to satisfy restitution before it can be applied to court fines and fees. The language also provides that where a person other than the defendant posts bail, these funds may not be used for this purpose without prior notice and consent to that third party. Section 15 pertains to violence against school employees and child welfare workers. Children, teachers, and school employees deserve a safe learning environment, and in 2023, there were 6,800 violent incidents in Clark County schools within a 7-month period. Same year, 7,400 violent incidents in Washoe County schools. This section helps ensure that unacceptable violence is adequately addressed by providing that when a child is taken into custody for a battery on a teacher, school employee, or child welfare professional for the 3rd time in 1 year and has been offered services through the juvenile justice system previously, the court may order that the child be detained or released with an ankle monitor pending an evaluation prior to returning to school. Section 7 provides that if a person causes property damage to a retail establishment during the commission of a theft offense and the aggregate value of the property of the theft and the property damage is $750 or more, that person is guilty of a Category C felony. Section 30 allows for cross-deputization of city attorneys for pretrial release hearings for purposes of the rural counties only, populations under 100,000. With regard to driving under the influence, I'll remind this committee that in 2024, 412 people in Nevada died as a result of deadly crashes. That's an increase from 2023, 390 deaths. The leading cause of crashes were speeding and impaired driving. Sections 52 and 54 are cleanup provisions regarding the applicability of the per se marijuana law to felony DUI. They do not establish new law. They're cleanup provisions. Sections 53 and 55 increase the penalty range for DUI causing substantial bodily harm to 2 to 20 years. For persons who have been previously convicted of DUI and commit a DUI which causes the death of another person, the penalty range is moved to 5 to 25 years. Sections 34, 37, and 43 pertain to medication for opioid use disorder programming for our prisons. And sections 31 to 33, 35, and 36 allow the NDOC to establish an alternative correctional program. Director Zorinda is available here today to answer any questions you may have regarding those sections. Section 14 provides that a certificate of innocence and a provision of an award in wrongful death action is not a finding of certain wrongdoings in the investigation or prosecution, and it is not a finding that there was not probable cause related to the offense. Jason Frierson is available here today to elaborate further and answer any questions you may have. And finally, Sections 1, 2, 9, 10, and 46 pertain to our resort corridor. Virginia Valentine and Matt Griffin are here to address those sections. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Virginia Valentine, and I'm here today on behalf of the Nevada Resort Association in strong support of AB 4. I'd like to take a moment to note for this committee that the language in the bill as it relates to the tourism safety proposal, which we will be presenting, is the same language that was in the last version of SB 457 that was voted out of the Assembly last session. I'd like to thank the Governor for bringing this bill and the opportunity to appear before you all today to present it. For our 72 resort hotel members in northern and southern Nevada, the safety and security of their employees and guests is a high priority. Every day, our members make countless decisions about their operations, and with each decision, safety is also always taken into consideration. And every day, more than 150,000 Nevadas working directly in hotel casinos throughout the state put their faith in our members that they will be safe from crime at work and while walking to and from their cars or to the ride home. This confidence to protect our team members is paramount. No employee should have to think about their safety in coming to the workplace. To keep our employees and guests safe, our member security teams work hand in hand with law enforcement to prevent crime and to catch those committing crimes. However, as we've noted before, despite all of our collective best effort, there remain those offenders who are not deterred and continue to perpetrate crimes undaunted by the current penalties. Recidivism continues to be a significant issue in our tourism areas. I'd like to provide context on the prevalence of trespassing, as its application may not be clear. Before a trespass is issued by resort security, a crime has been committed or some incident on private property that's resulted in security asking an individual to leave. I think the best way to explain the increase in incidents seen by resort security after the resort court might be explained by giving you a few examples. Scenario 1, an individual starts a fight. Security breaks it up and asks if anyone wants to press charges or file a police report. They don't. There's no arrest. The instigator is trespassed from the property. Scenario 2, an individual steals a purse. Resort security catches the individual on surveillance and recovers the purse. The owner has an early flight, doesn't want to stay to file a police report or be a witness. The perpetrator is trespassed from the property again, and again, no arrest is made. Scenario 3, an individual steals a Tito. Some of you probably know what a Tito is. Ticket in, ticket out. It's a little paper receipt you get when you get your change out of a slot machine. They fall on the casino floor, they stick out of the machine. So here's scenario 3. An individual steals a Tito. Although it is a felony to steal a Tito, the amount of these Titos amounts to pocket change. No police report or arrest is made due to the unlikelihood of a prosecution for such a minor sum. That individual is trespassed from the property. Scenario 4, an individual starts a toilet paper fire in a resort restroom. The fire is extinguished with minor property damage, no arrest is made, and the individual is trespassed. In cases like these, the same individuals return to the property and either commit additional crimes and/or additional trespasses. Typically, on the 10th trespass, resort security will ask that that individual be arrested. Resort security documents the incident as required in Nevada law. If that individual returns, they may be trespassed again. Security is very judicious in its use of Metro's resources, and it may trespass an individual up to 10 times before calling Metro. At that point, Metro may make an arrest. If they do not, it does not appear in the crime data. If the district attorney charges the individual, they will appear before a judge in court. If they do not charge the person, this also does not appear in the data. After an individual has been charged with multiple crimes, in many cases the charges are reduced or pled down, and if the charging documents are complete, then a judge will hear from the counsel for the defendant and the prosecutor and make a determination on a sentence, a suspended sentence, a diversion program, and hopefully an order out to discourage the individual from returning to the area within the order out area. But multiple crimes have occurred in these examples, and they will not be reflected either in Metro's data or the order out data. The number of cases seen by court pale in comparison to what hotel security sees. And as you can see from these examples, right now, data is not consistent across the justice system, or in some cases, not even available. Different pieces of data are being reported, but they do not tell the entire story. During the resort court operation, Resort Security reported a decrease in the number.
We are at 15 minutes right now. You will have 5 total for the entire group, and then I will close the presentation.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Mr. Griffin to walk through the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Matt Griffin, M-A-T-T-G-R-I-F-F-I-N. It's good to see everybody so soon. I am here today on behalf of the Nevada Resort Association. I'm going to walk you through the provisions of the bill. But first, I want to start off with some information that has occurred since the last time we were in this building having a hearing on this. There has been a development, at least with respect to the case log. On April 9th, 2025, Clark County District Court Judge Michelle Levitt heard an appeal from a decision rendered by the Justice of Peace Cicento. In her order affirming the conviction, the district court, relevant to the discussion today, held 2 things. Number 1, it affirmed Clark County's authority to enact ordinances and criminal ordinances in the order or corridor that's within the authority of the county. And number 2, it affirmed that there is no violation of the First Amendment by ordering folks out of a corridor once they either are charged or convicted of a crime in the corridor. So as I present to you today, I'm going to take this a little out of order because it's easier to explain. I'm going to start with Section 46. That's kind of the meat of what's being proposed today. Then from there, I'm going to move to Sections 9, 10, and at the end, I'll do Sections 1 and 2. And Madam Chair, I'll go through as swiftly as I can to make sure that we fit within the time limits. First, in Section 46, in acknowledging the county's authority over criminal misdemeanors and in their jurisdiction, subsection 1 of that provides that counties with 700,000 residents or more, so Clark County, must establish one or more order-out corridor. Pursuant to subsection 2 of Section 46, the corridors do not have to be contiguous, and there can be more than one order-out corridor. That is currently how the corridors exist in the city of Las Vegas, as they are not contiguous and there's more than one. Also under subsection 2, the county is required to display a map of whatever that corridor is on their county website for everybody to see. Second, under subsection 3 of Section 46, and the county establishes a corridor, in this case it would be Clark County, a person who is charged or convicted with offense within that corridor, the enhanced penalties are proposed as follows. For a first offense, that person may be prohibited from entering the corridor for up to a year. So it is not a mandatory sentence for an order out on a first offense, and it is up to a year as opposed to a year at a minimum. Conversely, for a second or subsequent offense, it is a must order out of the corridor for a period of not less than 1 year. So first offense, discretionary. Second offense, you cannot go back to the corridor for at least a year. And I should say those offenses have to occur within 2 years. So there is some time frame. If you did it 10 years ago and you come back 10 years later, then these provisions would not apply. Finally, under Section 46, and I'm referring now to Section 3B, the County Commission can provide for local ordinance for exemptions in which a person who is charged or convicted and ordered out of the corridor may come back in. Right now, the City of Las Vegas has what are we proposing here today. Clark County used to have what we were proposing, and they both have exceptions. Those relate to things like medical visits, if your doctor is in there, for religious services in there, if you're taking public transportation and it goes through. The mechanism of how this works is the Justice of the Peace will ask the person, do you have any reasonable reason to go into the corridor? If so, for why and for how long? And if they meet the code that the county adopts, then that person can be allowed in. It is not a one shot and you're done. You can come back if circumstances change, and you can ask again for permission. My doctor is now in the corridor, and you can go back in. That is the gist of what's being proposed in Section 46. Now, Section 9 and 10 deal with related aspects of Section 46. First of all, Section 9, and I want to highlight this section because I think there's been some misunderstanding about what's being proposed today. Section 9 deals with the authority of a justice court to enact a corridor court. It is not mandatory that they enact a corridor court. We are not seeking this body to enact a corridor court. That is a decision for the justice court to make, and the justice court to make alone. Section 10, on the other hand, that section deals with data. We are having trouble getting the data that we need, because our goal in this measure is to measure the efficacy of what we were proposing. If it is working, we want to keep it. If it is not working, we want to make sure that we go back and revisit it. There is an issue that we are trying to solve, and we want to make sure that we're actually solving that issue. So there is data that has to be reported monthly to the county commission and annually to the legislature for everybody to look at. Anybody can go and get that data. It's not a system that we're trying to bury it into some bureaucracy. We want the data to be known so that we can actually attack the problem. Finally, and I know I'm hurrying, and I'm close.
Sentences.
I'm close.
Sentences.
Sections 1 and 2 are, they deal with our employees. Section 1 is assault, Section 2 is battery. All we are doing in these sections is, it is of paramount importance to us to protect our employees that work in these resort and hotels. We are asking that they be put in that protected class with utility workers, with school teachers, so that if a crime is committed against them, there's 2 changes. 1, a simple battery, no deadly weapon, no substantial bodily harm. It would be a gross misdemeanor so long as these employees are wearing identification and they're in the corridor. If they're outside or not wearing, we're not saying that that applies. So if a person knows that they're attacking someone that works at a hotel casino, we're asking for a misdemeanor to become a gross misdemeanor, and that they be included in a Category B felony when there is substantial bodily harm, as opposed to a Category C felony. The same applies to a battery. If it is a battery, we're asking that it's a gross misto as opposed to a misto, and that they are of the protected class. They get a Category B felony instead of a Category C felony. And I think I was close. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Just 1 minute. Thank you. With that, at the rate of speed you were speaking, it says it demonstrates that you know this subject well. So thank you for that. With that, I also believe that when we open up for member questions, there may be some chair hopping. So please just do what you need to do down there in order by whoever's going to respond to the question. Again, please, as you're responding to questions, please make sure that you state your name, and so that we have it clearly for the record as well, okay? And with that, I'll give members a few minutes to start formulating their request. All right, we will first begin with a question from Assemblymember Moore.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I do have a question. The ACLU of Nevada sent letters to us up here with proposed amendment that is germane to this bill that would protect against ICE impersonators. And we have seen recently that even the FBI is urging Homeland Security and ICE, as well as the Border Patrol, to have their agents wear masks. This amendment that the ACLU submitted would require local law enforcement to respond and investigate to reports of masked individuals detaining others as potential kidnappings. Why is this language, this amendment, not being considered? Thank you.
Jennifer Noble, for the record, thank you for the question, Assemblymember Moore. As part of the presentation in preparation for this bill, I was not aware that that had been proposed by the ACLU. The governor's office ultimately decides what amendments are accepted and what are not. So other than it sounds like there might have been discussions, but an amendment didn't make it into the bill, I don't have an answer for you other than that.
Our next question is from Assemblymember Roth.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you so much for the presentation. I guess I kind of look at this bill, I look at like the corridor court parts separately than the rest of the bill. And so my question is more on the rest of the bill. And specifically, I believe it's Section 7 is the retail theft. And I guess I'm just trying to take a step back of the why on all this. A press release recently by the Washoe County District Attorney's Office said that burglary is down 25% since 2021, robbery is down 24% since 2022, and that he quotes, "The facts are clear, our community is safer," and that data can be found on the Nevada Crime Statistics website. And so, when we're considering how we've seen a decrease in crime rates since the passage of AB 236 in 2019, coupled with now rolling back some of those protections that we put in place, what is the reason if we are seeing that drop in crime?
Jennifer Noble, for the record, thank you for the question, Assemblymember Roth. So I would say a couple of things. As you know, as a practitioner, burglary is separate, right? And after AB 236 was passed, we have to prove not only that there's an unlawful entry and that intent at the time someone enters the establishment. But let me talk to you about this provision because it's a compromise provision in response to objections to reduction of the felony theft threshold. Because of the way Nevada crime statistics are tracked, the examples are anecdotal. There's not specific data currently collected on these smaller scale thefts that specifically involve damage to security measures, such as glass cases or wires that are designed to prevent theft. So this isn't targeted toward the organized retail theft where we see on the news tons of people swarming an Apple store or a Sephora or something like that. This is more targeted towards somebody who's just trying to protect their merchandise in the best way they know how. And as you know, our organized retail statute requires proof of, one, a series of thefts, with, two, an intent to resell the stolen merchandise. So this is a compromise measure designed to leave the felony theft threshold alone, keep it intact as AB 236 left it, while still sending a message to Nevada businesses, especially small businesses, that this legislature sees them and will support their individual efforts to combat theft. And as we know, Nevadans are not numbers.
Thank you. So just to clarify, when we're talking about the statistics that are being reported, you're saying that these thefts are not included in that data?
Jennifer Noble, for the record, thank you for the question, Assemblymember Roth. So it's going to depend on the elements of each theft-related offense. And as you know, we've got lots of them, right? So is there something in the Nevada crime statistics that specifically is going to let us search for theft offenses that don't fit in within organized retail theft or some other theft offense that specifically involve the interference with a glass case or something that the business owner is trying to use to protect their merchandise? That specific inquiry, that scenario, I'm pretty good at searching the Nevada crime statistics, but this was designed to address that scenario specifically proactively, not reactively.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Cole.
Thank you very much, Chair. My question is actually on the same section. And so the way that I read this is that in order for the felony to apply at this level, there has to be the property damage. And so it's not just shoplifting, somebody goes into Target, fills up a cart, walks out the door. It won't change that at all. Is that correct?
Jennifer Noble, for the record, thank you for the question, Assemblymember Cole. That is absolutely correct. So the aggregate value of the property and the damage to the security measure, whether it's a wire holding in
the tags,
or a tag or something like that, or a glass case protecting merchandise in a pawn shop, whatever it is, it has to have an aggregate value of $750 or more for this to apply. It would not apply to a shoplift.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll go to Assemblymember Gonzalez.
Thank you so much for the question, Chair. I was wondering if you could talk about what the fiscal costs or like the impacts are going to be on the Nevada Department of Corrections in terms of incarcerating more people. Thank you.
For that, I can have fiscal respond. Mr. DeRoust is here. And just so another point of clarity, a little difference with between regular and special. Obviously, in regular session, we do not discuss fiscal impact or requests because we have committees committed to that. We have Ways and Means and, of course, Senate Finance. But we do not have a Ways and Means to refer this bill to right now. So that's why he is joining us and can respond to that fiscal question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. in response to the question, Adam Drost with the Fiscal Analysis Division. In response to that question, you will note in the bill, sections 59, 60, and 61 have general fund appropriations to the Office of the Administrative Courts as well as the Nevada Department of Corrections. For the Nevada Department of Corrections, the one general fund appropriation is consistent with that was included in SB 457. However, I believe the amount for the Department of Corrections for the alternative sentencing or alternative program is relatively new, and I know Director Zorinda is in the audience and can speak to both items in more detail regarding how those projections were made.
My name is Don Southworth, Southworth. I'm the Chief of the Offender Management Division with the Nevada Department of Corrections. So when we're looking at this bill, there's a few different parts that may affect the fiscal impact. The majority of the bill relating to different criminal laws, we have a projection that says for fiscal year 26, we expect a population increase of about 6.52 offenders. Fiscal year 27, that would be 11.56 offenders. That relates cost-wise in fiscal year 25 to $264,634.41. And for fiscal year 27, $472,000, $617.70, with future biennia costs of $1,196,193.61. However, there is another element to this bill for a community transition program, which allows certain offenders to be released from NDOC custody early into the community while still under our supervision. And there is an initial setup fee for that program. But what you'll see is the population reduction in our custody in our facilities will actually, over time, offset the population increase relating to the other portions of this bill.
I just wanted, Director, did you have anything to add before that clarifying question?
So James Miranda, DZURENDA, Director for the Nevada Department of Corrections. I was just going to explain what the community transition program would look like and what qualifies for it if it's presentable. But I have nothing more to add about the actual costs and what the numbers are.
Okay, then we will go to Assembly Members' clarifying question on.
Thank you so much, Chair. So thank you so much for those numbers. So I just wanted to clarify. So you're saying that overall, this would cost us about $1 million. Is that correct? Am I understanding correctly?
Don Southworth for the record. So the criminal portions of AB4 would cost in future bienniums about $1.1 million. However, the population reduction savings that we get will offset that. And after fiscal year 25 or 26, the savings due to a decrease in overall population will offset the population increase relating to the other portions of the bill.
Quickly.
Thank you so much. Do you know how much money the offset is here?
Don Southworth for the record. That is very difficult to measure because there's a lot of factors that we don't know. We have an eligibility list of how many offenders meet the criteria that would be set up in the bill, but understanding exactly how many offenders have the community support that would be needed, have the ability to enter and the interest to request to go into the program. Until we know that for sure, a lot of what we're doing here is just ballpark estimates and kind of best guesses. But we do expect a population reduction of as many as 500 offenders that would be eliminated from our in-house custody.
You're welcome, Assembly Member. And so with that, Director Zorinda, are your comments based on the fiscal questions? Because if it's just about the programming, that's part of a presentation again. Okay, so we're going to hold off on that unless a member asks, okay? Just for the sake of consistency. But none of you go far, thank you. Our next question is from Assembly Member Ornlicker.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your presentation. I'll start with Section 7. As you were describing the rationale for Section 7 about the smash and grab thefts and they damage the property designed to provide security, it sounded like you were describing the proposed amendment from the public defenders rather than the bill, because the proposed amendment says if you commit this theft and you damage a secured door, a window, a showcase, a display case. So it sounded like that actually reflected your policy purpose better than the language that you have. So it strikes me that's a good thing and that you would welcome this amendment. I don't know if you've seen their other proposals, but they have a series of what seem like very sensible suggestions to make sure that this bill that reflects what you're trying to do without going beyond and having unintended consequences. So I appreciate your thoughts about this particular Section 7 and their other proposals if you've had a chance to look at them.
Jennifer Noble for the record. Thank you for the question, and it's nice to see you, Assemblymember Ohrenlicker. With regard to Section 7, and I hate to do this to you, but if you can point me to a line of concern, I haven't had an opportunity to review a proposed amendment from the public defenders on this particular issue. I'm always happy to work with stakeholders and look at that language with them, but I don't want to speak to something I have not reviewed.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, if you could take a look and as soon as you have reasonable opportunity and get back to us and let us know, because as I say, they seem designed to carry out what you're trying to do in a more careful way.
Okay, I don't believe we have any additional member questions. So I have a few brief ones. If we could return to, Section 3. I marked it. Section 3, Section 11, letters, I guess it's B, D, I. Basically, pages 16 and 17 of the printed bill about basically the stalking concerns and about social media. Because again, we know social media is somewhere where many of us live. And even in our daily vernacular, we use the terms of like stalking, right? And stalking it does not mean the criminal sense of stalking. Stalking can be as simple as junior high kids who have a crush on someone that keeps going back and looking at their story or looking at their photos or something like that. Not saying as adults we've ever done that, but I'm just saying, children. And so when we're talking about, obviously we're talking about a stalking concern or issue that's already happened with people that were or are currently in a relationship. I guess I would just like clarification on in letter D when it says electronic means, of course, without limitation, the use of internet or network site, a social media, communication, electronic mail, these types of things. And before that, in Section B, it said conducted in person or by electronics means over a period of time directed at a specific person. So I shouldn't say it seems obvious, but I imagine we're speaking in terms of if someone is directing threats to someone through email, through social media, something like that. But there's also this gray area. Again, you can see in your stories that someone's viewed it, right? And so that concern about someone getting caught up where maybe they're still reviewing a story. Again, this happens in breakups, right? And social media gets real entangled in relationships where there is absolutely no abuse, no violence, no anything of the sort. And so making sure that these people aren't captured because someone reviewed the story of their ex 19 times a day. That may be part of the process. Or someone has a crush on someone and they're not getting in trouble because they keep looking or liking or commenting if those comments are not of a violent or threatening nature. Could you speak to that? And and then I'll have a follow-up.
Jennifer Noble for the record. Thank you, Chair Miller. This is an important question. So what we're trying to get at here, and I think the language could be refined, and I'd be happy to help refine it with whoever wants to work on it. What we're trying to get at is, number one, maybe you know your ex-boyfriend or girlfriend or person you were dating, their login and their password information, right, from Facebook. And so you use that to get into their account and do a bunch of bad stuff. That'd be one scenario. Number two, you've got your own Facebook page and you post on it, Jenny Noble is a horrible person and all kinds of damaging things about me. And you know that someone's going to show that to me. It's definitely aimed at me, even if I'm not friends with you on Facebook. Those are the types of acts that we're trying to get at. Not necessarily, okay, I'm on my Instagram Reels, someone's story pops up in my feed, they haven't blocked me, and I happen to see it. That should not be captured under the ambit of this bill, and I'm happy to work on language to make sure that that type of activity falls outside the criminal conduct described.
Okay, because with that, you just mentioned something, and as you're saying, obviously logging into any electronic program using their passwords and stuff like this, obviously that's a problem, but then you just said posting my ex on, and initially, personally I was like, yeah, but then I was like, wait, First Amendment, like how do we, now that you've said that, people have the right to, obviously we know not pornographic or revenge porn or stuff like that, but if someone said my ex is horrible on their social media, how do we criminalize that?
Jennifer Noble for the record. Again, Chair, another important clarifying question. Okay, First Amendment says you could say anything you want to about me, right? But if you say, I'm going to kill her at 8:30 tomorrow morning, then that could be part of a course of conduct for stalking or something like that, right? Some sort of defamatory, harassing stuff that falls outside that I don't like her, she's not a good person. That's covered by the First Amendment. And again, ready, willing to work quickly on language that would help alleviate these concerns for anybody on the committee, including you, Chair. Thank you for the question.
Wait, I didn't say me. I said junior high kids, not me. That was junior high kids that do that.
Okay, well, maybe me then.
Okay, thank you so much. With that, my other question is about the resort corridor. And so often in this committee, we have had to speak to, we assume everyone in Nevada knows what we're talking about when we use these certain terms. And, I've said it before in past years about, the average tourist who doesn't live in Nevada. They know that prostitution's legal in Nevada. That's it. That's all they hear. Marijuana's legal in Nevada. That's it. That's all they hear, right? And so with the resort corridor, I actually went on a ride-along a few weeks ago, another one on the resort corridor specifically so I could see what was going on. And I asked the officers, there was multiple officers, and they were talking about the resort corridor. And I said, who explains to individuals what the resort corridor is? Because I know when they showed me the map, my reaction was, some of it I assumed, like many of us in these rooms would, just because we're involved in this work, like, oh, yeah, of course that makes sense. But would the average person, the average tourist, the average Nevadan necessarily know what's included in it? They know what the Strip is. We all know what the Strip is. But now the resort corridor expands a little more than that. So who, if someone does get restricted, and again, Mr. Griffin, I'm glad that you said the exemption for if my doctor or even my job is on the Strip and I have to go. But who's communicating what the resort corridor actually is in the areas that would be prohibited?
Madam Chairman, Virginia Valentine again, and thank you for the question. I believe that on the first offense, the individual's not going to get an order out. But when they get that order out, they're going to get a map. And it's going to show them where those areas are.
Who provides that map?
That would happen at the courts. It would happen from the judge who issues the order.
Madam Chair, for the record, Matt Griffin, I repeat what Ms. Valentine said, is if you are a tourist in Las Vegas and you have not committed a crime, you don't care where the corridor is, right? So the idea would be, and we want it on the website of the county, but also if I am getting sentenced or I'm a deferred prosecution or I'm on probation, whatever the case is, it is just a matter of course for a justice of the peace, say, this is the area you can't go back in. I analyze it to, like, if I go into an AMPM and I steal something from the AMPM, while I'm waiting to be adjudicated, the judge is going to tell me, you better not go back to that AMPM. I don't need to be told 20 feet, 40 feet, 60 feet, stay away from that AMPM, right? So I think that's the kind of information we want to get. If there's ideas to make that clearer, we're all ears, but our goal is to make sure that they understand if you have committed offense and you've been ordered out, you are not allowed to go in this area, and we want to make sure you understand what that area is.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a question from Assemblymember Considine.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the indulgence. I just have a question from what you just mentioned, where you analyzed it and compared it to AMPM. So I just want to make clear the difference between an AMPM, which is a private location, or are we quasi-privatizing the entire resort corridor?
Madam Chair, through you, Matt Griffin. Thank you, Madam Chair. No, I don't think there's much difference in those. They're both public properties. They're private properties who've been opened up to the public, right? So there's a quasi-public expectation in these circumstances. When you talk about trespass, nobody can come in right now and haul me out of the room and say, Matt, you've trespassed. Under Nevada law, I have to be told in advance that I need to leave. And then I make a volitional decision not to leave, right? So this is not trying to change the character of a property. It's just if you are on something where you've been asked to leave, then you have to leave. The AMPM example, there's a million of those when people go and steal candy bars or they try to rob an AMPM, whatever the case might be. There's a million of those examples. You cannot go back until we figure out what your case has done. That's what we want for the corridor. And the justification of this is because when you go down to the Strip, and we have all been to the Strip a lot of times, the amount of people down there is immense, right? We've only confining this to where there are a large number of people, employees and tourists, where the risk to the public is enhanced just by the sheer concentration of people.
Thank you. And with that, that concludes our questions. So we will open it up for testimony. As I stated before, anyone testifying, please make sure that you state your name, that you spell it, and that you mention any affiliation that you may have. Each speaker will be given 2 minutes to speak. If you notice that there's a lot of repeating or we have a lot of people, I'm going to, again, ask that you say ditto, because I am only allowing 1 hour in support, 1 hour in opposition, and 1 hour in neutral. I will again remind you what neutral is. Neutral is not taking a position either way. It's just stating any facts or information or projected impact that you have. So if you have a position, it needs to be either all in support, all in opposition. Again, another gray area where sometimes we get confused is if you have an objection. So for instance, I support this bill for these 3 things, except for or a but, then that is not truly a support. So I would ask that you just let us know in other means. Again, we will move between here and Las Vegas. So we will start here in Carson City. It is 3:24 as we begin support testimony. And so with that, and of course, those in Las Vegas, the same process. You may fill those chairs and just have them revolving as necessary. So with that, we will go ahead and begin here in Carson City.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. Joe Hill, Joehill, with the Retail Association of Nevada. We support AB 4, specifically Section 7. We would like to thank the government and the legislature for tackling this ongoing issue that will help our workers and customers. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is William Horn with Western Public Affairs, appearing today on behalf of SafeNest. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in strong support of Assembly Bill 4, specifically Sections 5, 11, and 13. SafeNest is Nevada's largest nonprofit responding to domestic and sexual violence. Every day, our team witnesses the devastating impact firearms have in abusive relationships. Approximately 80% of domestic violence-related homicides, including victims, children, bystanders, and nearly all murder-suicides, are committed with a firearm. Section 5 of AB 4 creates a mandatory compliance hearings when a court orders firearm surrender. This closes a life-threatening gap between what judges order and what actually happens. Section 11 extends these same protections to domestic violence protective orders, which is the most dangerous time for a survivor. Ensuring firearms are truly surrendered, not just ordered surrender, will save lives. Section 13 strengthens Nevada's domestic violence statute by adding kidnapping and attempts or solicitation of domestic violence crimes, providing earlier intervention and earlier points where firearm removal can occur. Madam Chair and members, these reforms are evidence-based, urgently needed, and will prevent the predictable tragedies that devastate families across Nevada. On behalf of Safe Nest and the survivors we serve, we respectfully urge your support of AB 4. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. For the record, Jason Gray, Gray, Vice President, Government Affairs for MGM Resorts International, here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 4, including and in particular the tourism safety provisions contained in Sections 1, 2, 9, 10, and 46. We sincerely appreciate the Assembly's approval of this very same language just a few months ago during the 2025 regular session of the legislature. These provisions will strengthen important deterrence and enforcement tools to improve public safety and combat repeat offenders in an order-out corridor to protect visitors, employees, and Nevadans. Language to strengthen penalties for offenses committed against hospitality workers will further affirm this body's longstanding recognition of the importance of the hospitality workforce to the proper functioning of the tourism industry and, by extension, our state's economy. And it demonstrates that crimes committed against hospitality workers will not be tolerated. The provisions also contain important new and needed requirements relative to reporting that are intended to make informed, evidence-based decision-making relative to order-out offenses, among other matters. Our state's travel and tourism industry employs 437,000 Nevadans and 28% of total employment, contributes 24% of all state general fund revenues, and comprises $98 billion in total statewide economic impact. These provisions are intended to ensure that priority public safety issues counter to a thriving tourism economy and the safety of our workforce are properly addressed and mitigated. We thank you for your consideration and we urge your support. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. I'm Eric Hansen. It's Erikhansen. I'm the Chief Sustainability and Government Affairs Officer for Wynn Resorts. We echo the comments by the Resort Association. The Wynn is home to 13,000 employees, and we see visitation of over 20,000 guests per day. We are here in support of AB 4 because this bill would enhance the safety of those 13,000 Nevadans when they're at work, our housekeepers, our security personnel, all the people that make our resort what it is, as well as our guests that expect a safe visit to Las Vegas. Wynn Resorts is also supportive of the data component, allowing elected officials, resorts, and the public to understand what is needed, to determine where resources are needed, and finally to evaluate the effectiveness of any resort, court, and diversion programs. Thank you for being here, and we urge your support.
Good afternoon, Chair Miller, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Nick Schneider, SCHNEIDER, Director of Government Affairs for the Vegas Chamber, here in support as well for AB 4, particularly the sections 1, 2, 9, 10, and 46 regarding the strip safety corridor. For the sake of brevity, we'll go ahead and just echo the comments of Mr. Gray, Mr. Hansen, and Ms. Valentine. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Chair Miller, members of the committee. For the record, I am Leslie Pittman, LESLEYPITTMAN. I'm here today on behalf of Red Rock Resorts in full support of Assembly Bill 4, particularly sections 1, 2, and 46. But I'm mostly here to emphasize the importance to the entire Southern Nevada gaming community of keeping our resort corridor employees and visitors safe, as many of them are our customers as well. So we urge your support of this very important legislation. Thank you for the opportunity.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Joshua Martinez, JOSHUA-MARTINEZ. I'm representing the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We rise in support of AB 4, and we would like to speak to the violations of the order out corridor. We believe that that's an important part of this piece of legislation that'll help combat folks that are reoffenders in the resort corridor. And just a few statistics: in 2023, we made 1,800 88 arrests. In 2024, 1,272 arrests. And 2025, 387 arrests for the violation of order out. Thank you for your support.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair Miller and members of the committee. Carlos R. Lassane II for the record. That's K-A-R-L-O-S, Lassane, L-A, capital S-A-N-E. Regional Vice President of Government Relations and Community Affairs for Caesars Entertainment. On behalf of the thousands of hospitality workers and the millions of tourists who visit Las Vegas in the Strip Corridor and beyond, I come before you today and humbly ask for your support of AB 4. The success and failure of tourism as a destination is closely related to providing tourists and our employees with a safe and secure environment. Implementing laws that protects visitors and our hospitality employees is crucial to deterring crime by establishing a safe and secure environment. It safeguards the local economy and it protects Vegas's reputation, and we can ill afford to lose that. Our guests, our employees, the confidence as it relates to safety is paramount. I know that there's data that reports crime is down. What's critically important to note is that so many crimes go unreported, and it's for a myriad of reasons such as the fear of illegal entanglement, embarrassment, language barriers, and cultural obstacles, and the lack of time stops the victim from reporting. All crime isn't violent. Theft, fraud, property damage, disorderly conduct, and trespassing is a huge issue, particularly as it relates to the habitual offender. Without legal consequences, these crimes can escalate. We reviewed the crime bill, and we understand its importance. And on behalf of Caesars Entertainment, we are in full support of AB 4. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Chair Miller, members of the committee. Jason Walker, Jasonwalker, representing the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. Supporting Assembly Bill 4, this bill enhances driving under the influence sentencing in cases involving death or substantial bodily harm. It updates provisions related to opioid use disorder treatment and reentry programs, recognizing the importance of both accountability and rehabilitation in improving long-term community safety. For these reasons, the Washoe County Sheriff's Office strongly supports, respectfully urges its passage. This legislation strengthens victim protection, enhances community safety, provides law enforcement with the updated statutory tools needed to address today's public safety challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Nicole Rourke, representing the City of Henderson, here in support of AB 4, specifically the provisions that add social media to the stalking statute in Section 3, as well as the additions to the DUI penalties. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. Russell Rowe here on behalf of Boyd Gaming Corporation. We just simply wish to echo the comments of Ms. Valentine on behalf of the NRA and strongly encourage your support of this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. This is Sam Anastasatos. That's spelled A-N-A-S-T-A-S-S-A-T-O-S. And I'm here on behalf of the City of Sparks to show our support. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of this very special session committee. I am Miranda Hoover with 3C House, representing the Energy and Convenience Association of Nevada, and we are in strong support of AB 4, specifically Section 7. The national average of state retail theft thresholds, which include Washington, D.C., in comparison to the penalty being presented today, is $692.16. Bringing Nevada back to the $750 threshold will put us back in line with the national average. Across the country, our convenience stores are seeing an increase in smash and grab incidents. We believe with the implementation of this bill, law enforcement will have the ability to go after those individuals, which will help to deter future incidents. We ask for your support of this bill to help deter theft at our convenience stores, many of which are the only option for groceries in our rural areas of Nevada. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Andrew McKay, M-A-C-K-A-Y. I'm the Executive Director of the Nevada Franchise Auto Dealers Association. We're the trade association that represents all the new car, light truck, and heavy-duty truck dealers across this great state. Simply put, we rise in support of AB 4. We were in full support, enthusiastically so, of Senate Bill 457 from last session. We supported the bill for several reasons, but it was a quality of life bill. And that is something that we've consistently maintained as our association since its beginning, that we support measures that advance and protect the quality of life of not only our Nevada residents, but also our visitors. Simply put, AB 4 accomplishes all of this. It protects our employees, our citizens, our visitors, and our businesses alike. And as a result, we respectfully implore this committee to pass this measure. It's an extremely important measure and one that warrants your due consideration. So thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I'm Paul Enos, E-N-O-S. I am the CEO of the Nevada Trucking Association, and we're here today in support of Assembly Bill 4. I'd like to thank the governor for bringing this measure forward. We do think that this bill does give the folks that are out there fighting crime, prosecuting criminals, enhanced tools for them to be able to make Nevada a safer place. Specifically, we support the enhanced provisions for enhanced penalties for repeated DUI violations. You know, our truck drivers are out there. You know, this is a measure that doesn't just protect those men and women that are moving 95.3% of all the freight in the Silver State, but everyone who uses our roads. And we do think this is an important provision in this bill, along with the overall provision. So we are in full support. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Aisha Goins, A-E-S-H-A-G-O-I-N-S, and I'm here on behalf of SEIU, the largest healthcare and public sector union in Nevada, representing 20,000 workers, 14,000 home care workers, and they support AB 4, specifically sections 1 and 3. 1.3. Our members face threats of violence. The bill provides critical protections for child welfare staff and child protective workers. Thank you for recognizing their safety matters. Enhanced penalties will deter assaults on their workers. Thank you.
And so we will move down to Las Vegas. Please proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Chair Miller, members of the committee. My name is John Jones, here on behalf of the Clark County District Attorney's Office. I am sorry I'm not up there with you this afternoon, but it is great to see all the members of the committee. I am here in support of AB 4, and first would like to start off by thanking Governor Lombardo for bringing the bill. One of the big reasons that we're supporting this bill is the fact that it decouples the penalty between DUI, substantial bodily harm, and DUI death. Right now in statute, those penalties are covered in the same statute. It's 2 to 20. And that works to artificially cap the penalty for DUI, substantial bodily harm. In other words, if the penalty for DUI death is 2 to 20, and the penalty for DUI substantial bodily harm is 2 to 20, most judges aren't going to give the max penalty on a substantial bodily harm case a 20 on the top, because that's reserved specifically for death. What AB 4 does is it makes the penalty for DUI death more akin to that of a second-degree murder, which we would argue that a DUI death is closer to second-degree murder than anything else. And so the range of 2 to 25 if you don't have a DUI prior, or 5 to 25 if you do have a DUI prior, goes a long way towards meeting some of the goals that we have advocated for down here in Clark County. I also want to say we appreciate Virginia Valentine and Matt Griffin and the entire Nevada Resort Association for bringing the strict safety language. There are few places on this planet like the Las Vegas Strip. And AB 4 goes a long way in giving us some innovative solutions. And I can tell you it's not going to stop with AB 4. We are already working with others to figure out how we can integrate like the Strip Corridor Court with Campus for Hope and other issues. So we're trying to be innovative in how we deal with crime on the Strip. And I think AB 4 is a great place to start. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Right on the money, Mr. Jones. Next, who would like to testify in support in Las Vegas?
Yes. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Elgin Lofton. I serve as both academic coaching coordinator and Rebel Rebound coordinator at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, where I mentor and support more than 100 justice-impacted college students. I am also the founder of a 501c3 nonprofit And through that work, I go inside the Nevada Department of Correction men and women's prisons to deliver reentry curriculums, helping people prepare to come home, reunify with their families, and succeed. I must note that I'm here today in my personal capacity, not representing UNLV or NDOC. Before this work, I spent 15 years incarcerated, so I know what it looks like when policy chooses punishment over people. This bill before us, SB 457, the Safe Streets and Neighborhood Act, proposed stricter penalties for repeat DUIs, assaults, stalking, and other offenses.
Sir, are you in support of the bill or opposition?
I'm not in support.
Okay, we're in support testimony, so I'm going to have you, if you can wait until we open up opposition, if you would just like to take a seat, and then when we have opposition, you're more than welcome to come back up and give your full testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else there in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support? Okay, is there anyone else here in Carson City that would like to testify in support? All right, then I will go ahead and close support testimony. I appreciate everyone for staying within their limits, and I will go ahead and open up opposition testimony. Sir, down in Las Vegas, if you would like to come forward and continue, because we are now officially in opposition. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so continue. Please state your name again.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No.
My name is
We know
Elgin.
it's, yeah.
Right, my name is Elgin Lofton.
Can you spell that, sir?
Okay, Lofton, Larry, Oscar, Frank, Thomas, Oscar, Nancy.
Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Elgin Lofton. I serve as both academic coaching advisor and rebel rebound coordinator at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, where I mentor and support more than 100 justice impacted college students. I am also the founder of a 501c3 nonprofit. And through that work, I go inside Nevada Department of Correction men's and women's prisons to deliver reentry curriculums, helping people prepare to come home, reunify with their families, and succeed. I'm here today in my personal capacity, not representing UNLV or NDOC. Before this work, I spent 15 years incarcerated, so I know what it looks like when policy chooses punishment over people. This bill before us, SB 457, the Safe Streets and Neighborhood Act, proposes stricter penalties for repeat DUIs, assaults, stalking, and other offenses, and would also revitalize the resort corridor court to handle crimes originated from Las Vegas Strip. This focus on more incarceration and harsher sentences will not build softer communities. It will make them smaller by closing doors to those trying to rebuild their lives. Because safety doesn't come from piling up punishment, safety comes from opportunity, stable housing, meaningful education, decent jobs, and a community that supports people when they return. I'm living proof that the structure, support, and the second chances people can and do change. If we invest in redemption, equity, and hope, rather than simply investing in more incarceration, that is how we create safe streets and stronger neighborhoods for all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, sir. Anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to make opposition testimony, please come forward.
Okay. Hello, my name is Jessica, and it's YESSICIA, Valencia. I live in Assembly District 28 and Senate District 2. I am here to oppose to the crime bill. I urge you to vote no on Bill AB 4 because our community continues to be under attack, and we need bills that protects our vulnerable families. As a community activist and DACA recipient, I fear daily going out in my community to help to support the same community that is being attacked. I see the fear grow and, and people not coming out of their homes while I'm finding resources to help with food. I am doing my part. I ask you to do yours. This bill does nothing to the people like me. We need to focus on legislation that ban face coverings and allow impersonations to law enforcement officers in which in return attacks our community and abduct and separate our families. We need to focus on legislation that protects our communities instead of harming it. Thank you for your time. And once again, I hope you vote no on Bill AB 4.
Thank you so much. We will continue in Las Vegas.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Ortiz, ELIZABETHORTIZ. I live in the Assembly District 14 and Senate District 21. I am hearing a strong opposition to this bill AB 4. If the governor wants to talk about safety, he needs to include the safety of immigrant communities in Nevada. Immigrant families face harassment, confusion, and fear every single day. This bill looks away from the harm already happening to us. Nevada students should feel protected in their schools, not watched or exposed to policies that open the door to federal enforcement. This bill fails to make our communities safer. It leaves immigrant families and students with even fewer protections and more uncertainty. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Brennan Bartley. That's BRENNAN BARTLEY. I'm a public defender who defended people in the courts for the last year of their operation. That's the corridor courts. I speak today in my personal capacity as a member of Assembly District 10 to explain to Assemblywoman Karras and all of you what the corridor courts and the order out actually meant on the ground. The crimes that occurred in the corridor court were almost exclusively misdemeanors, nonviolent or nonviolent misdemeanors. The reasons we were given for why that court existed are either already served by the rules of the Justice Court or were not borne out by the facts. My clients were promised that this would be better for connecting them to resources that never materialized. The people who were most heavily impacted by these provisions were people who were homeless. I watched officers walk up to homeless people who were doing nothing more disruptive than sitting on a planter box or stacking rocks and ask them for their names so that they could arrest them if they had an order out. In my experience, 85% or more of the people charged with violating an order out were homeless. And you would see these people caught in a vicious cycle of doing months of jail time, and you had to go back 3, 4, 5 cases to get them doing anything other than violating an order out, often just trespassing. The measure of efficacy is in. Since corridor court has ended, all verifiable statistics show that crime is down. These are failed experiments that harm some of the most vulnerable among us, turn our jails into more expensive homeless shelters, and fail to accomplish any goal of criminal justice. What they do is make it easier for the 1 or 2 judges who hear these cases to be chosen, to be bought by the powerful to rule against the powerless. And justice can never be bought. That is why I'm respectfully urging you to vote against AB 4. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of this committee. John Piro, JOHN-PIRO, representing Nevada's Attorney for Criminal Justice, which represents hundreds of attorneys throughout the state. This bill is not evidence-based, it's not research-backed, and it hasn't been transparent. We are not hard to find, and we haven't been reached out to by the Washoe County District Attorney in doing this bill. In fact, this bill runs contrary to data, and I have the receipts. Today, on November 13th, the Nevada Independent, using statistics and data, cited crime is down on the Strip. On October 28th, the Review Journal cited Sheriff McMahill in Las Vegas saying double-digit crime reductions have happened. After testifying to this committee last legislative session on June 9th, Washoe County District Attorney Chris Hicks stated to Channel 8 Reno that crime is down, and he cited Nevada crime stats as a source. On November 9th, the Lyon County Sheriff Polk cited crime is spiraling downward, and today I checked Joe Lombardo for Nevada.com, and his results page says crime is down. Crime is down across the state. I was here in 2019 and worked to pass AB 236. At that time, this body committed to evidence-backed reforms, and now it is backing away from that. Nevadans are safer today by being smart on crime. This is not an emergency measure. This is a resuscitation of a failed policy from last session, and this failed policy should not be revived. Last session, we had hours of opposition, and cutting the phones off has now cut off hours of opposition for this bill. Don't let the limited amount of working class people that could make it here today not be an example of everybody else that opposes this bill. Moreover, this bill will not have a negligible fiscal impact. It will cost my office roughly $8 million to staff the corridor court, and that's money that should be going to vulnerable Nevadans to feed them rather than to support a failed policy. You should vote no.
Good afternoon. For the record, Attar Hasibullah, first name spelled A-T-H-A-R, last name H-A-S-E-E-B-U-L-L-A-H. I serve as the Executive Director for the American Civil Liberties Union of Nevada, and I'm a civil rights attorney by background. I am not happy to be here today. This sham of a special session called by the governor contains no emergency measures. Neither the Sony bill is an emergency, this bill is not an emergency, and none of the other ones presented thus far have been an emergency. The fact that there is no telephonic testimony permitted for working class people is an affront to the system of justice that we have and participatory democracy. For years, I've heard this body talk about inclusivity and access points, and yet today, just today, telephone testimony is cut off for no reason. There's a reason why the only people that seem to support this bill were specific special interest group and not ordinary people. We've heard every casino operator step up and say the resort corridor has been great. Well, where's the data that's backed that up? Why is it that this wasn't connected to a district court where there's serious crimes, but instead a justice court where misdemeanors and low-level crimes? It's because my colleagues have articulately and wisely pointed out that this was a court used to target the unhoused. If it was only about gaming properties, it would have been limited to what occurs inside of the casinos, but it's not. It was used to target people on the street. Beyond this, the fact is that we submitted at the ACLU a proposed amendment days ago to include immigrant protections that in fact are germane to address ICE kidnappings or impersonations of ICE officers that are occurring. Local law enforcement should serve our public, but instead we get 2 minutes of testimony time. The public is cut off, and we can see this for what it is. This is an opportunity for the corporations to buy out our judicial system, much the same way they bought out our political system. We urge a no vote and for you to reconsider betraying the people of this state.
Good day, members of the chair and the committee. My name is Tamara Favors, T-A-M-A-F-A-V-O-R-S, and I'm a leader with the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada. I live in SD2 and AD11. I'm here to urge you to vote no on AB2. Not only am I a housing justice advocate, I'm also a child of a formerly incarcerated parent. I remember the moves, the fights, and the splitting up of my immediate family, all because of my father's record. We had to be very careful on which homes we applied to, and we still got denied. When all because of his background, my family had to move various times because there was no strong housing laws to keep families together and housed, regardless of income or background. Regressive, tough on crime bills only make it more difficult for formerly incarcerated folks to rejoin society after serving their time. We cannot contribute to more incarceration while also having protections in place for reentry and rehabilitation. If we keep incarcerating folks and judging who is living in our neighborhoods, how will they be able to find a good shelter to call their home? This is a housing issue and not just a crime issue. Making it easier for our community to be caged will lead to increased homelessness in Nevada. Thank you for listening, and I urge you not to be cruel to Nevadans and vote no on AB 4. Thank you, Tamara.
Greetings. Greetings. My name is Noé Orozco. That's N-O-E, accent over the E, O-R-O-S-C-O. I'm the coalition coordinator for the Nevada Immigrant Coalition. and we are here in opposition to AB 4 as it stands. The immigrant community is under attack, and due process is being eroded by the current overreach of the federal government. In Nevada, we have seen 2 surges since the beginning of the year, where our families were terrified to go outside to simply take their kids to school or to go grocery shopping. These attacks push our communities further into the shadows. A perfect example is the economic impact communities faced over the threat of ICE enforcement at the Broadacre swap meet over the summer. Broadacres is one of the largest employers in North Las Vegas. The closure caused significant economic disruptions to vendors, and we've seen persistent fear even after the reopening. Anything less than substantive policies and meaningful protections is just performative. It's a deflection from moral responsibility. We do not need a study to tell us what we already know. Numerous studies have already documented the devastating impact of kidnapping mothers and children, the economic destructions to bring the local communities, and the deep rupture it causes in our social fabric. It's time for our elected officials to step up and protect our communities. The Nevada Immigrant Coalition urges this body to take real action for our friends, families, and neighbors. We need meaningful protections for all Nevadans, regardless of immigration status, and that means protecting sensitive locations from increased ICE enforcement, restricting any face coverings or masks of local law enforcement, and ensuring that the data is not shared for immigration purposes unless there is a judicial warrant. This is the time to show up for our immigrant families. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Naomi Joy. That's Naomijoy. I'm a Henderson community member, a youth LC minister, activist, and volunteer with multiple organizations throughout the Valley, including Indivisible Las Vegas, Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada, and Nevada Immigrant Coalition, to name a few. Today, I am here to address you on behalf of myself, the organizations I support, their lead advocates, and the fellow Nevadans they serve. First, I want to take a moment to address the accessibility the timing of the session fails to provide. Prohibiting phone testimony with less than 1 day's notice for the session, the Assembly is excluding its working people and those with accessibility needs from opposing. Now, in regard to Governor Lombardo's crime bill, crime is down. The bill promotes spending money Nevada does not have to funnel more people into prisons and jails, while the strip corridors function to incorporate unhoused people and other vulnerable community members. If our governor wants to protect Nevadans from crime, he should consider bills that restrict ICE agents from entering sensitive locations like churches and schools, prohibiting masking, and require visible ID for agents. I desperately urge you to oppose this bill, AB 4, prioritize people over profit and its citizens over donors. Thank you for your time.
Is it not on? No. Oh, there we go. Hi. My name is Deborah E. Hecht, Deborah, middle initial E, last name Hecht, Hecht. I'm in Assembly District 3, way up north. And because I happen to be a retired person, I could make it down here. But many of the people that you'll notice are speaking against this bill are people who are working in this city. The reinstatement of this, I know there was strip courts before, and which were specialty courts on the Vegas Strip that funneled unhoused people and others into the criminal system. We already have enough problems. The immigration is awful in this town, and I don't understand that the governor is trying to make it more difficult for our local people who are from other places, who are trying to make a life, deal with also having to do the court situation on the Strip. It should go through our regular system, and we shouldn't put more attention on it because we have enough attention on the immigrants that are in this city. And I'm appalled that we're even considering doing this. We have more important things to do, like take care of these people that we live with, that are our neighbors. Thank you. I'm done.
Hello, thank you. My name is Manuel Santamaria, MANUEL SANTAMARIA, Campaigns Director for Battle Born Progress. First thing I just want to say is I paid $45 one way on an Uber just to get here because this body has decided that calling in was not an option. But this was an emergency for me, so I came. And it's an emergency because apparently providing extended census is also an emergency in the state. Meanwhile, there are over 600 homeless veterans in the state. I'm a veteran. According to the NVDBS in 2023, 129 veterans killed themselves in this state. Most of those veterans were past the age of 75. Veterans are living in streets and dying without dignity. This year, 120 veterans died alone and unclaimed by anybody. That's an emergency. This body's lack of concern to prioritize the lives of people like me, people that are broken and scarred from defending you, is appalling. Instead of helping those in need, we are praised to add an added burden on the taxpayer where we can't currently afford to keep our own DOC funded. Please reconsider this bill and instead addressing the emergencies you have gathered here to actually address. Vote no. Thank you.
Hi, Chair Miller and committee members. My name is Brian Harris. That is BrianHarris. I am here on behalf of myself, and I would like to ditto the comments made before me. Please oppose this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Miller and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Melody Hudilia. That's spelled Melody, last name Judila, and I'm the Deputy Director of Silver State Voices. I'm here to testify in opposition of AB 4 on behalf of Silver State Voices. I echo fellow comments in opposition in solidarity with our partner organizations. We are also similarly upset about the lack of telephonic testimony for today, which is not a good indicator of civic participation for our communities. Our vision for a healthy democracy includes a vision for healthy communities, and we do not believe this bill gets us there. We urge a no vote. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Miller and committee members. For the record, my name is Matilda Miller. That's Mathilda Miller, and I am the Public Affairs Director of Native Voters Alliance Nevada, and we're in strong opposition to Assembly Bill 4. This bill does not make Nevada safer. It expands punishment instead of reducing harm. It puts more people in a system that has already failed to deliver safety, stability, or true justice for the communities that are most impacted. We know what actually prevents crime. That's housing, that's treatment, it's mental health care, it's strong schools, it's stable jobs, culturally grounded services. Nevada does not have a shortage of punishment. Nevada has a shortage of investment in things that keep families whole. AB 4 sends more kids and adults into cycles that are almost impossible to escape. Indigenous families, Black families, and Latino families and underserved communities will feel the brunt of this measure. And when we talk about public safety, we must talk about the safety for the people who are actually living through the consequences of this policy, not the convenience of a system that refuses to reform itself. We urge you to oppose this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Quentin Savoy, and on behalf of the Executive Committee and the branch members of the NAACP Las Vegas, I rise in opposition to Assembly Bill 4. We are living in a moment of deep national scrutiny around policing, civil liberties, and the proper limits of government authority. Across the United States, the public is demanding greater transparency and accountability amongst our law enforcement professionals, not expanded powers without guardrails. Unfortunately, AB 4 goes in the wrong direction. This bill dramatically broadens the definition of who is considered officer, extending enhanced penalties to interactions involving a wide range of public-facing employees. While protecting workers is very important, and you won't ever hear us argue that, this provision risks criminalizing ordinary behaviors and disproportionately escalating minor incidents into felonies, fueling our prison pipeline system. In a climate where over-policing in marginalized communities is already a major concern, we should not be expanding categories that trigger enhanced penalties without clear evidence of necessity. AB 4 also introduces compliance hearings and accelerated enhancement mechanisms around firearm relinquishment and pretrial conditions. Without adequate due process, these sections invite inconsistent application and widen the door to coercive practices. In a time when courts nationwide are grappling with unequal treatment in the justice system, Nevada should not be adopting procedures that allow for more aggressive surveillance and control without guaranteeing fair access to counsel and meaningful judicial review. Perhaps the most troubling of these is the corridor geographic zones that are created where individuals can be banned for up to a year. This approach mirrors policies in other jurisdictions that have been widely criticized for enabling selective enforcement, displacement of vulnerable populations, and the stigmatization of entire neighborhoods. One has to beg the question, what will this cost Nevadan taxpayers? These provisions do nothing to address root causes of crime and instead increase the risk of profiling and further civil rights violations. In this political moment defined by public concern about government overreach, AB 4 expands punitive authority without providing transparency, accountability, or community-focused solutions. I urge the committee to reject this bill and sufficiently engage community stakeholders about how we can substantially narrow its scope to prevent foreseeable abuses. We urge a no vote. Thank you for your time.
Hello, good afternoon, members of the committee, chair. My name is Sean Navarro, ShaunNavaro. I'm here speaking on behalf of the National Action Network. I live in AD 34. We strongly oppose this bill, and we strongly oppose calling this bill a crime bill. This is not a crime bill. This is a mass incarceration bill. This bill does not try to address the systemic root cause of crime, like lack of affordable housing, lack of mental health care resources, lack of drug and substance abuse rehabilitation, inequality in the public education system. This bill only seeks to arrest more people, to arrest poor people, to arrest people in marginalized community, arrest people of color, arrest minorities. This bill is just a number of questionable actions by the police force here in Nevada, including the the donation of a fleet of Teslas from a private donor. This bill, along with other actions, is clear that there are two justice systems here in Nevada, one for the poor working class and one for the rich. I believe we're speaking about community safety. The community should be able to be involved in these discussions. Banning phone comments is a specific action to stop people from commenting on a bill that will impact their lives. This bill, if passed, will impact generations of Nevadans and just include putting Nevadans in the incarceration system. And I think this creates an adversarial relationship between law enforcement and the community. This specifically is targeting the work of community members who've come together to try to improve the system. And I think this creates an us versus them mentality and does nothing to impact crime. It only makes it worse. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I just want you all to know in Las Vegas, you have about 8 more minutes left. So if people could be brief with their comments in case there's any more. Please continue.
Good afternoon, Chair Biller and members of the committee. My name is Gerald Mays, Geraldmayes, and I'm the Executive Director of the NAACP Las Vegas Branch 1111. And I'm here today on behalf of our members. Let me begin with what is most important. The NAACP wants safe communities. We want safe workplaces, safe neighborhoods, and a justice system that protects every Nevadan. We are not opposed to law enforcement. In fact, we work alongside many of those partners in our communities. Our concern is not about whether to address crime, but how we address it. Nevada has already taken meaningful steps in recent years to modernize and balance our criminal justice approach. Those efforts recognize that if we want long-term safety, we must be strategic, not reactive, in how we design policy. We have to understand that the difference between targeting real threats to public safety and creating broad policies that unintentionally sweep in people who are simply trying to stay afloat. Our members consistently tell us the same thing. When people have stability, access to services, mental health support, treatment, and opportunity, communities are safer. When families are pushed into deeper instability, the challenges only grow. The NAACP believes we must focus on what works, and that means being precise, targeted, and informed in how we craft public safety policies. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. My name is Tysican Hall, TAISACANHALL. I'm a lived experience specialist with the Nevada Homeless Alliance, and I'm testifying in opposition to AB4. The Resort Corridor Court was meant to reduce crime on the Strip, but in reality, it punished people for being poor and unhoused. We all want a safe, welcoming Las Vegas, but the Resort Corridor Court failed to make that happen. What we need isn't another specialized courtroom that punishes poverty, but a system that invests in housing, treatment, and a path to stability. Real safety starts with stability, not criminalizing the most vulnerable people in our community. Since the court was shut down, crime has actually gone down, with violent crimes decreasing by about 17%, property crimes by 25%, and nonviolent offenses by over 40%. That shows that public safety improvements are happening because of broader efforts like community partnerships and social services investments. So we know the answer isn't another court that criminalizes homelessness. Supportive housing, case management, and treatment are proven to reduce both homelessness and recidivism. Collaboration between the city, county, nonprofits, and law enforcement can build safer communities that doesn't rely on punishments. The Resort Corridor Court didn't create safety, it created barriers. If we want a safer, stronger Las Vegas, we can't keep cycling people through the system. We need to be passing legislation that provides people with the tools and stability that they need to rebuild their lives, especially after the longest funding lapse in history that served as a major detriment to our community. We need to build people up, not push them out. I urge you to vote in opposition to AB4. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tanisha Brandon. I am the Assistant Secretary of the NAACP Las Vegas branch. I'm speaking today on behalf of citizens like myself who are new to the community. I am here and recently also my 2 young Black sons moved here with me. I moved here to Nevada for a safer environment. I moved from the Memphis, Tennessee area. And what you are proposing in this bill is going to mirror what is currently happening in Memphis right now. I just left for a 2-week, wasn't a trip. I was there for a family matter, a death in a family, but it is horrible there. You're talking about over policing. This bill is going to create that same environment where young Black children, Black, brown, will be the ones who are predestined. I'm sorry, I'm getting my words. They will be the ones who are mostly affected by this bill. It will be very much so predatory, expanding the penalties to different types of thefts that the resort corridor crime zone and all of that will, it does not address the root cause of the crime. It is going to expand more, overcrowd the prison system, which is what is currently happening now. Check the data. You're going to turn this city and the state into a mini Memphis, Tennessee. Please oppose this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll take, excuse me, I'll take one last testimony from Las Vegas, and then we'll move back to Carson City. And if there's any time left in that hour, once Carson City does their testimony, we will return to Las Vegas. So please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair and Committee. My name is Anwar Green. That is A-N-W-A-R, last name Green, G-R-E-E-N. I am a citizen of Las Vegas, Nevada, and I am here in opposition of Assembly Bill 4. Committee, healthcare is an emergency in this state. Housing is an emergency in this state. The state of our educational system is an emergency in this state. Last I heard, I've been sitting here for a while and I've heard everyone say that in this state, crime is down. So for this bill to be even heard, unless the emergency is we've run out of people to arrest, it is laughable. And I know we don't have a whole lot of time, so I'm not going to repeat a whole bunch of stuff everybody else said, but if crime is down, we don't need another bill to lock up more people, especially poor people in marginalized communities. We need to direct our attention toward the other emergencies I mentioned. And again, I ain't got that much time, so I'm not going to repeat them, but I urge you to vote no. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. And we will return here to Carson City. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. My name is Nick Shepak, S-H-E-P-A-C-K. I am the Nevada State Director of the Fines and Fees Justice Center. As we have heard, this bill offers one solution to crime, and that is fines, fees, and incarceration. That is it. It does not in any way address a single underlying cause of crime. Those who will be most impacted by this legislation and who are currently most impacted disproportionately by incarceration are people in rural Nevada and people in low-income minority neighborhoods. Those are also the two groups that were barred from participation today when we did not allow the phones. We heard conversations about the costs of prison, and while we can run the numbers and say, oh, one individual in prison costs X amount of dollars, we run a prison system that routinely takes immense amounts of money out of the pockets of the families of those who are incarcerated. When we put people into the prison system through tablet fees, through medical fees, through a litany of fees, we destabilize the very communities that they've come from and exacerbate crime. We do not solve it, and this bill will exacerbate those issues. When we talk about the order out provisions and these corridor courts, it is clear. Talk to anyone who has worked there. They are a revolving door of people, mostly unhoused people. Those who are lucky enough to not be unhoused are hit with fines and fees, further destabilizing their economic situation for very minor offenses, mostly trespassing outside of buildings. This bill was rushed in the regular session. Stakeholders were not brought in any meaningful way into the final days, and it was rushed then. There were no conversations between then and now, and we're rushing this bill again. This is bad policy that is rushed. It is not needed at this time, and we urge you to vote no.
Evelyn Grosnick, Evelyn Grosenick. I am the Washoe County Public Defender. Today, I'm here to testify in opposition to this bill. I do echo my colleagues' concerns about the process. In a lot of ways, the process can be more important than the substance. Cutting off phone access to the public to call in and express their concerns or their support really says a lot. I understand that this is rushed and it is a tight time frame, but that is all the more reason that this type of bill should be considered in a regular session. No discussion of this bill is complete without a discussion of AB 236 from 2019, and I know we do have some newer legislative members here, so just to revisit for a moment, that was a major crime reform bill based on extensive studies and data, multiple hearings, and opportunities for all stakeholders to have input. The passage of that bill was based on the final report by the Nevada Advisory Commission for the Administration of Justice. It was an evidence-based approach to public safety. Significant reforms that AB 236 made, again, based on evidence and best practices, were reduced penalties for certain offenses. They gave judges more discretion, increased opportunities for people to participate in diversionary specialty courts, and dedicated more resources to treating behavioral health disorders. Since its passage, property and violent crime are lower, and Nevada is estimated to be saving millions of dollars on avoided costs of incarceration. The bill in front of you attempts to undo many of those measures. It will also put more strain on our prison system, which is already in crisis. And this bill will have fiscal impact. I won't speak for other stakeholders, but it does follow logic that when you increase prison sentences and create new crimes, you will need more prison resources. The Public Defender's Office in Washoe County will need additional attorneys and support staff to meet the increased workload that this bill would create. In closing,
Your time is up.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Next.
Good afternoon, Chair Miller, Vice Chair Marzola, and members of the Public Safety and Security Committee. My name is Paloma Guerrero, Paloma-Guerrero, on behalf of the Clark County Public Defender's Office. Our office, along with the Washoe County Public Defender's Office, has submitted proposed Smart on Crime amendments to this bill. These are changes that still preserve public safety, but reduce some unnecessary harm to our communities. I'll talk about 3 of those amendments. First is a stalking statute. This is Section 3 of AB 4 and Amendment number 3 in our proposed amendments. The intent behind updating the stalking statute for the digital age is understandable. However, the current language is overly broad and criminalizes normal, lawful behavior. As written, the bill defines an act of stalking as something as simple as accessing another person's social media account. That means that if you look at your ex's Instagram account, TikTok account, even without contact or any sort of threat, you can now be arrested and charged with stalking. Our amendment simply removes this definition so that it targets true stalking behavior, conduct that is threatening, conduct that's harassing or obsessive, not ordinary, non-threatening online activity. Next is the new smash and grab statute, the felony provisions, that's Section 7 of the bill. As currently drafted, it makes this offense a Category C felony. We're proposing just to adjust this to a Category D felony, a small but important change that better aligns with how Nevada categorizes similarly property crimes. For example, Category C theft usually involves losses of $5,000 or more. In contrast, these smash and grab incidents often involve much smaller amounts, and without this adjustment, we risk turning what would currently be misdemeanor or low-level felony cases into serious felony convictions, and these are penalties that can derail a person's life for years. Our goal here is just to ensure that the punishment fits the crime and maintain proportionality. Finally, we propose amendments to the DUI provisions to bring them in line with the Nevada's other enhancement statutes. These are Sections 53 and 55 of AB 4.
Thank you. Your time is up. Again, you can submit any additional comments in writing.
Thank you.
Next.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcy Reba, RYBA, and I represent the Washoe County Public Defender's Office. I'm going to hit upon 2 amendments that we've talked about. And I have to say, walking through the building today, I saw a great sticker. It said, "I heart the Second Amendment." But I can tell you Section 26 of AB 4 does not. This section creates new mandatory firearm surrender hearings for people that are accused of a crime, presumed to be innocent, and you're awaiting trial. And if you own a gun and the judge says you can't, you need to come into court and give the name of the person that you're giving the gun to. You need to describe the condition of the firearm, and you need to provide those serial numbers. Of course, if you don't have any firearms, you can just sign an affidavit and say, "I don't have a firearm." But if you've exercised your Second Amendment right and you have those firearms, you need to come in and show that you got rid of those, even though you're presumed to be innocent while you're awaiting that trial. And I think that this unfairly treads on due process and our privacy rights. These hearings are also unnecessary. Other conditions for bail, we don't have to come in and prove that we're complying with. Do we have to show our weapons, that we got rid of our nunchucks and the description and where they went? No, this is specifically looking at firearms, the government wanting to know where these are, who we gave them to, and what their addresses are. And I can't help but think about our public defenders in our rural communities. I used to serve as the executive director for the Department of Indigent Defense Services, and I spent a lot of windshield time going from justice court to justice court, which is hours. If you set a hearing and you give 3 to 5 days notice, and I need to be in Tonopah, but I have a hearing in Goldfield or Pahrump or Hawthorne, I can't make it. This is an unreasonable increase in workload for our public defenders in the rurals, as well as the public defenders in our urban communities. I also am asking that you remove that completely. The sealing provisions in Section 21 through 24, this is for individuals that are convicted of child abuse, and it prevents that you can ever seal that record.
Your time is up. Again, the same thing. Any additional comments, please submit them in writing. Next.
Hello, my name is Hallery Farini. I am immigrant justice organizer with Make the Road Nevada, and I'm also living in Assembly District 40.
Could you please spell your name?
Yes, Hallery, F as in Frank, ERRINI. But I am here to strongly urge you to oppose AB 4 because we also need to consider the safety of immigrant communities in Nevada. Our families live with threats, imitation, and fear every day. This bill refuses to acknowledge that reality. Nevadan children deserve schools that protect them, not policies that invite surveillance or enforcement into our campuses. Our families also deserve transparency from law enforcement, not officers covering their faces and creating more fear in our neighborhoods. This bill does not protect Nevada families, it does not protect our students, and it creates more fear and fewer safeguards for the communities that already face the most risk. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lauren Kern, LaurynKern, and I'm here on behalf of Reno's Sunrise Movement, which is a grassroots organization with an emphasis on educating the local community on pivotal political and social issues. I want to echo the concerns of my colleagues here today. As a spokesperson for Sunrise Movement, we oppose this bill, and as this special session was given with less than 24 hours notice, making it inaccessible to working class Nevadans. I also denounce this bill's incessant spending for the governor's mass incarceration plans that do not promote state growth and instead further criminalize while crime is down. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Kathy Fulkerson, CATHYFULKERSON. I'm a facilitator for Third Act Nevada. It's a national organization that works on behalf of older Americans on issues of democracy and of climate. This bill is an expensive solution in search of a problem. As we've heard from many others, overall crime in Nevada is down by 10%, burglaries have declined by 15%, robberies have declined by 26% since Governor Lombardo was elected. We do not need tougher penalties. We do not need to broaden the scope of crime infractions. We do not need anything special for the Las Vegas Strip. This bill is costly and a waste of money when Nevada revenue is down. How many bills died during the 2025 legislative session for lack of a fiscal note or because they had a fiscal note and were sent to those committees to die? This bill is obviously not about public safety, nor does it improve the quality of life for all Nevadans. I believe this bill will actually increase robberies because it will rob Nevadans of our hard-earned money that could be put to better use elsewhere. This bill does nothing to address the current state of fear that our immigrants, communities, and those who look like immigrants are now living with. AJR 9 resolution was passed unanimously by this body in 2025, urging Congress to enact legislation to prohibit ICE from entering schools and places of worship. Why are none of those concerns addressed here? Oh, that's right, the governor vetoed the one that required ICE agents to have a warrant before going into public schools. I urge you to not approve this bill.
Good afternoon, Chair Miller and members of the committee. My name is Elisa Caffaretta. It's ELISACAFFERATA. I'm the Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. We opposed this bill during the session, and we continue to have the same concerns over young people being caught up in the juvenile justice system. We would rather see Nevada invest its money in training and supports for young people and their families, so we remain opposed.
Good afternoon. My name is Marissa Crook, C-R-O-O-K. I'm opposed to Assembly Bill 4, and I live in Assembly District 24. I am a local attorney who practices criminal defense law in Washoe County, and I have several concerns about the firearm compliance hearings in Section 26 as they impact and interact with the Second and Fifth Amendments. In current practice, compliance hearings in Washoe County require a person to disclose whether or not they have firearms, and if they do, make, model, number, and serial number of each firearm they possess. This is extremely sensitive information, and the procedures that are present in a pre-trial bail hearing are not the same as those that are present in an extended protective order hearing or in a hearing for someone who's been convicted of a felony or domestic violence crime. Additionally, I have concerns about how it would affect a person's Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. I'm also concerned about increasing the penalties in Nevada without it being driven by data, which was what happened in AB 236, and we resultingly saw a decrease of crime in Nevada. The FBI says that in 2024, Nevada crime was at its lowest since 1986. Washoe County District Attorney Chris Hicks said that burglary rates were down 25% from 2021, and robbery was down 24% since 2022. Part of that is thanks to the data-driven practices that were enacted in Assembly Bill 236. This bill is not similarly data-driven. I'm also concerned these increased penalties are prevalent throughout the bill. Creating the smash and grab penalties, expanding the definition of assault and battery on an officer, expanding the definition of stalking, increasing penalties for CSAM possessions, increasing the definition of domestic violence, increasing penalties for DUI repeat offenders. We currently in Nevada prisons cannot safely house prisoners. There are multiple unlawful wrongful death lawsuits, and the NDOC is over budget. I'm also concerned about the incentives for people who are charged with child abuse. In my current practice, most of the people who are charged with that crime are single mothers. Currently, if this bill were to pass and they were to get into mental health court or drug court, they would not have the incentive to complete, as they would not be eligible for the dismissal and deferral at the end. The Smart on Crime amendments proposed by the Public Defender's Office would address these concerns, and I would ask you to vote no or adopt the Public Defender's amendments.
Thank you so much.
Greetings, Chair and the committee. My name is Jagada Chambers, Jagadachambers. I'm actually the Executive Director of Mass Liberation Project Nevada. I'm definitely in opposition to the bill. I concur with a whole lot that has been said today. I do want to bring up a couple things that have not been mentioned. Along that resort corridor and in that strip, there was a law enforcement officer that was using it as a haven to inflict trauma on folks with false cases. We know that reality, and that was not presented at all by anyone today as it pertains to law enforcement. One thing that really sticks out to me personally, in my free time, I frequent casinos regularly, okay? We have no problem filling our folks up with liquor and sending them on our way. Never is the casino bill's addressing that part of our DUIs. So as we find out deeper ways to handle people and rectify, what is the responsibility of the casinos to stop liquoring people up and just ushering them to their car saying good luck? I've lost a friendship with a bartender for somebody because money is so frail, you'll keep serving somebody liquor just to get another dollar and another dollar. And so when I confronted this brother, we got into it. So I just want us to look at the totality of it. And it's impossible when law enforcement don't bring community to the discussion. That's why you get a wayward piece of legislation and policy that is going to be detrimental versus something that could be healing to our communities. I'll say that much. And thank you all for y'all's attention. I see you listening on a long day, fresh out of retirement. You guys are back. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Tara Webster, T-A-R-A-W-E-B-S-T-E-R. I'm here on behalf of the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada in opposition of Assembly Bill 4. AB 4 implements a major policy change that requires thorough debate, not a costly special session driven by a false sense of urgency. There are real human costs associated with the penalties imposed by this bill. This bill will give the green light to racial profiling along the resort corridor, increasing felony charges, leading to harsher sentences and higher incarceration rates. Plan believes true community safety depends on holistically addressing the root causes of crime, such as widespread poverty, funding shortfalls for education, and mental health support. The hardships Nevadans have faced increased over the months, and instead of fueling the prison pipeline, we should be investing in Nevadans by meeting their basic needs, prioritizing free school lunches, early childhood education, paid family leave, affordable housing, jobs, protecting immigrant communities, and providing alternative options to incarceration, including treatment and recovery programs. All bills that died or were vetoed last session. AB 4 is simply cruel legislation, and we urge you to vote no.
Good afternoon, Chair Miller and committee members. I'm Jessica Munger, M-U-N-G-E-R, with Silver State Equality, and we are in strong opposition to AB 4. By expanding fines, fees, and arrestable offenses for minor infractions, this bill will funnel even more vulnerable people into the criminal justice system, which, as you know, is already overwhelmed and unsafe, increasing incarceration rather than addressing underlying needs. We urge you to reject policies that criminalize poverty and disproportionately harm the most vulnerable Nevadans, who were not afforded the time and mechanisms to speak with you today themselves as they deserved. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Olivia Tanager. That's Oliviatanager, and I'm the Executive Director of the Sierra Club's Toyabe chapter. The Toyabe chapter of the Sierra Club is the largest grassroots environmental organization in the state of Nevada. We are an organization dedicated to environmental democracy and community voice. We oppose this bill because it undermines the very principles of fairness and public participation that healthy communities and a healthy environment depend on. We have not heard today that any of the proponents of this bill have been able to cite any actual data supporting the need for the changes laid out in this bill. Rushing this bill through a special session silences the community and contradicts the inclusive, transparent process that true democracy requires. At a moment when Nevada urgently needs investment in climate resilience, public lands, public transportation, and community health, this bill would waste millions on policies that make our state less just and less sustainable. I encourage you all to vote no on this bill. Thank you.
And just for, again, information's sake, we have about 10 more minutes of opposition testimony left.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman, members of the committee. It's a pleasure and an honor to testify before you today. In opposition to this bill, my name is Nathaniel Phillips, and I'm a Reno resident, but originally from Las Vegas. This bill shows us so much. In its haste, missing data and information, it sounds like it was written by people who live in a completely different world than the majority of Nevadans, and it shows the deference to profits over people that is the rule of the day in this state. And you can see from the presenters behind me where it came from. The Nevada Resort Association, which in the revolving door of political favor in the state of Nevada, apparently gets to pass our laws, set our police budgets, and whatever else they wish. This House should represent the most vulnerable, everyday people in our state. And this bill and this session shows the dysfunction. It was so poorly written before, it was swiftly rejected. So what has changed in my minute? I'll try and get to it. Let me say this, though. As a crime victim, the Resort Association doesn't speak for me or all crime victims. The district attorney's offices do not represent me or all crime victims. Stop politicizing crime victims. It is abhorrent. So what changed? Politics did. Candidates have announced who's running for attorney general, and apparently their campaigns believe that mass incarceration is a winning tactic. And our governor, up for re-election, is still moonlighting as the former sheriff. This bill is unserious, and crime victims like me, people who are more likely to be victims of crime, like me and from my neighborhood, deserve real leadership, not cosplaying as tough on crime. 20 more seconds. Instead of feeling safe, we need real safety. This bill takes us backwards by not addressing the legitimate crises all around us that others have spoken to that make Nevada one of the most challenging states for working people. Please reject this poor excuse of a bill. Thank you.
Okay, because you did have 20 more seconds left, would you spell your name for the record, please?
Set my timer short. Thank you. NathanIel Phillips, Phillipps. Yes, there's two L's, two P's at the end. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Reverend Paul Larson, Lutheran Engagement Advocacy and Nevada Advocacy Director. I'm here to ditto the testimony that was just given, that it is important that we oppose AB4 and actually start restorative justice here in the state of Nevada.
Will you spell your name too, please?
Sorry, my apologies. Reverend Paul Larson, Paul-Larson.
Tanya Freeman, spelled Tanyafreeman. I echo the words of those people who spoke before me, and I urge you to say no to this bill.
Hello, my name is Lily Barron, Lillybaran, on behalf of Reno Initiative for Shelter and Equality. It is the 13th day of a month that has been absolutely hellacious for those of us who provide services of food, shelter, and clothing and support to other people. I have spent nearly every single hour of every single day trying to connect people to services, delivering groceries directly to their door, collecting grocery cards, as well as open an emergency warming center for women and families, because our shelters are completely full and people will freeze to death tonight. Last night we had a woman come in who is a senior citizen who has only 3 toes left due to us not treating these kinds of things like emergencies. If I need to come down here in between distributing food and trying to connect people to emergency shelter to address something that is very much not an emergency, we are putting other people at risk. We are putting other people at risk of death and worse. Criminalization of these issues has no evidence base that it is ever effective, and connecting someone to a job after receiving these kinds of infractions and even misdemeanors is nearly impossible, and it is also 100% impossible for us to connect someone without income to housing right now in the state of Nevada, and even doing that is very difficult. It takes about 4 to 6 months if someone has a perfect record and receives over $1,700 a month of income. So I'm glad that everyone can get here for an emergency. Let's address the emergencies of housing, healthcare, and food. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I would just like to ask, is there anyone else here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition? Not seeing anyone, then we have I am able to take 3 more testimonies in Las Vegas if there's anyone that would like to oppose.
Hello, my name is Bishop Jackson, BishopJackson. I live in Assembly District 37. I oppose this bill because, of course, ditto what everybody else said. And just coming as a citizen, this bill, especially being rushed like this, doesn't really feel to me like it's coming in good faith. And I wish that the people that are presenting this bill would actually work with the opposition. That's so if they want to try to get it passed, you can get it more refined. But I feel like we've already got enough answers that this bill does sound pretty terrible. That's it.
Hello, my name is Jolina Walker, Jollina Walker. I want to say thank you to the chair and the committee for hearing our opposition testimony. As a founding mother, excuse me, of the Birth Collaborative, a reproductive justice training and advocacy organization, I strongly oppose this bill, and I hope that you will as well.
Here we go.
My apologies.
No worries.
Hello, and thank you for having me here today. My name is Erica Marquez. I live in Assembly District 14 and Senate District 21. AB 4 attacks families, communities, and people like me. I am a DACA recipient, mother of 4, whose children are under 6, and know this bill does not protect me, but leaves me, many families, individuals, and most importantly, our community unprotected. Our focus should be on banning bounty hunters that impersonate law enforcement and separate working families, leaving pain, insecurity, and trauma to our community. As a community member and organizer, I hear the stories daily of the fear that is being installed. We need to focus on making our schools, churches, and hospitals locations safe and not under attack. Our children should focus on their education. Those that are sick should focus on their health, and both should not have to face uncertainty of safety in these locations. I plead for you to take in consideration how our families, those who have mixed legal status, different races, and possibly beliefs, are all affected people. And most importantly, we are all Nevadans. Let's bring back the word unity in community and stop bills like AB 4.
Thank you. And Erica, could you spell your name, please? I promise it's the last time you got to come up here for now.
Brika. Thank you.
And your last name?
Marquez.
Thank you so much. And with that, that concludes our opposition testimony. So I will open it up for neutral testimony. Beginning here in Carson City.
Good afternoon. Peter Handy, Peterhandy. I am the current Executive Director of the Nevada Department of Indigent Defense Services, here to provide some neutral commentary for this committee. Obviously I'm taking no position on this bill. I trust the committee will consider the bill holistically and its effects. I have some issues to kind of raise for the committee's consideration. Some of those things were brought up earlier in different portions of the testimony and the public comment. First is the reported increased need for the urban offices. As you likely already know, there's a significant lack of attorneys in Nevada's rural counties. We still have a really high need to get more people to come to work out there, and the urban offices are a significant draw for attorneys that are currently practicing out there. Certainly increased pay, better opportunities for a lot of them to see it that way, and so a lot of them make their way out there when these kind of openings come up. The second is Section 26, as kind of mentioned earlier. Anytime we're adding a hearing to the already crowded plate for the attorneys, especially in rural Nevada, we're adding to their workload. Many of these attorneys carry very high caseloads and have to report to various courts in different counties. And anytime we're going to start imposing additional requirements on those attorneys to be appearing for their clients in these different forums, we're adding to that already high workload. So just a couple of things I'd like this committee to keep in mind when making their decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. We will go down to Las Vegas for neutral testimony.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Judge Jessica Goody,
Jessica. I'm a Justice of the Peace of the Las Vegas Justice Court and Chair of the Legislative Committee, and I am Vice President of the Nevada Judges of Limited Jurisdiction, and I'm here speaking on behalf of both my court and the NJLJ. As you may know, judges are limited in the testimony we can provide, so I'm here testifying in neutral on behalf of the court and NJLJ. My comments will be brief, and we will submit written comments later. Specifically, I'm going to focus on Section 5, which is what Mr. Handy just spoke about regarding the return hearing when the defendant has been ordered to surrender guns. Many of our rural courts throughout Nevada believe they will not be able to comply with the 2 to 5 day return hearing, and we don't think any of our courts would be able to comply with the 1 day return hearing if the defendant is in jail and has been ordered to surrender their guns. Most of the time, we are not notified when the defendant has been released from jail, and so in order to be able to get a return hearing in 1 business day is likely just not feasible, and we wanted to bring that to the committee's attention. Also, I would like to comment on Section 10, which is the reporting requirements for the resort corridor. We are expecting a significant fiscal impact. I believe the last numbers I saw was in the 7 figures. That will be submitted as a formal fiscal note in conjunction with Clark County. We also have concerns with the potential separation of powers issue with requiring us to report to the legislator and the Board of County Commissioners instead of the Supreme Court and the Administrative Office of Courts, which is who we normally report our stats to. And I would also like to note that our judges currently can and do issue order outs when they are requested by the DA that is prosecuting the case, as well as handle and hear violations of the order out when those cases are brought before us. I would like to, if any members of the committee have any questions, I will make myself available to answer those for you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas or Carson City that would like to make neutral testimony? Okay, not seeing any, I will give the presenters an opportunity to make any brief closing remarks.
Thank you. Washoe County District Attorney Chris Hicks for the record, CHRIS, HICKS. I'm just going to end where I started earlier today. I want to thank you very much for your time and consideration. What I want to circle back to is this is very much common sense criminal justice reform that will have a direct impact on everyday Nevadans. We are not talking about a rollback of AB 236. Nothing in this proposed bill rolls back AB 236. What we are talking about is what will help all Nevadans, making our roads safer, protecting our children in the terms of child pornography possession, domestic violence reforms, stalking reforms, helping crime victims, and protecting educators. What I would end with is this is a bill, I don't have to say it to all of you, but passed out of not this exact committee, but a very similar one, and got to the finish line. And I think it is time to finish, as Governor Lombardo said, this unfinished business. It is something that will help Nevadans. And I, again, respectfully ask you to do so, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I would just like to say thank you to all the presenters and to everyone who, I guess you could say, participated physically here in Carson City or Las Vegas, and to everyone who testified, whether in support or opposition, for the civility and the diplomacy and just the respect for everyone, even with opposing views. So I really appreciate that and stayed within time limits. Thank you so much. With that, I will go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 4. We will take a brief recess, meaning, like, don't go too far, because we're waiting for our presenter for Assembly Bill 3. So let's just relax, and as soon, maybe a 5-minute recess, and then as soon as our presenter's here, we'll proceed with Assembly Bill 3. didn't gavel out. Okay, if we could all come back to, oh, one moment, sorry. We're waiting on staff. Okay, so we will. Okay, we are coming back to some resemblance of order. Okay, so we will hear our next bill, Assembly Bill 3, which revises provisions relating to public office. We have Assemblymember Howard Watts to present. Do you have a co-presenter or just, okay, people in the audience available for questions? And like I said, just like earlier, we ask that you keep your presentation to 15 minutes. I will cut you off at 20. We also ask anyone testifying that you please state your name and spell it for the record. Please keep your comments to 2 minutes each. And again, I will take 1 hour for support testimony, 1 hour for opposition, and 1 hour for neutral. And with that, I officially open the hearing for Assembly Bill 3. Assemblyman, you may proceed when you are ready.
Thank you very much, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Howard Watts, representing Assembly District 15. I'm glad to present Assembly Bill 3 for your consideration today. Hopefully, we will keep you well under the time limits outlined by the chair. Fundamentally, what this bill is about is protecting vulnerable persons. Since we adjourned our regular session, I think all of us are aware of the tragic shootings and the murder that occurred in Minnesota, where members of their state legislature were attacked in their homes. That obviously is a worst case scenario, most horrifying thing that can happen. But there is so much more that members of our body and other people serving in public official positions have gone through. In conversations that I've had with folks since then, people have had nightmares about home intrusions. Folks have had experience with people intruding into their homes, right? Going into their yards, people vandalizing members' homes. People have gotten their address and personal information doxed and put out there on the internet. People have received threats of violence by phone, by email, via social media. And, you know, we must realize that everyone who takes on the responsibility of serving as a public official does have a risk and faces being a target for violence and harassment. And Assembly Bill 3 looks to make a few adjustments to our statutes to help protect public officers' personal information from being put out into the public square and making them more at risk for attack and harassment. There's a few sections to the bill. I'm going to start with Section 3 because I think this is kind of one of the core pieces of this. So in Section 3, and this is one of our elections statutes, you can see that there is already a list of people who can request that their personal information kept in the records of the Secretary of State or county or city clerk can be made confidential. In other words, our election information, our voter registration, et cetera, where we have our addresses made public. And it includes a number of folks, particularly folks involved in the justice system, in the welfare system, as well as others. What this does is add a public officer to the list of persons who can request to have their information made confidential. And then on page 10 of the bill, you will see there is now a new added language defining what a public officer means, and that's a person elected or appointed to a position which is established by the Constitution or statute of this state or by a charter or ordinance of a political subdivision of the state, and involves the continuous exercise as part of the regular and permanent administration of the government of a public power, trust, or duty. So this is wide-ranging. As many of you know, and some of our financial disclosures in particular have to be filed not just by elected officials, but also by other appointed public officers of the state. So this provision would cover all of those people serving in public official roles. Going back to sections 1 and 2 of the bill, there is essentially conforming language around declarations of candidacy and residency to ensure that someone who has made this request can have that information made confidential on those forms as well, which are otherwise public records. And there are already existing in statute certain exemptions and qualifications under which some of this data can be released. But again, we're trying to reduce the exposure of this for people that may be at risk of threats or violence. Moving on to section 4 and 5 are also conforming language related to local elections, or section 4 is. Section 5 makes a new category and explicit allowance for campaign expenses by candidates to be used for personal security. So you can see that that is within section 5, subsection 1. Within subsection, subsection 2 of section 6, you can see that there's some additional definition around the use of this. Essentially, if by being a candidate or a public officer, you are facing an elevated security risk, then using funds to provide for your personal security is an allowable use and not considered a personal use of funds. So we are clarifying that. Within section 7, it adds a new category to contribution and expense reports for expenses related to personal security. Then in section 8, this is really conforming language related to county recorders. Again, there is a very similar list of individuals who may petition to have their personal information made confidential in county recorder records, again, for property records in particular. And so this would add public officer and define that within that section of statute. And then section 9 also adds public officer. And then in section 10, we are also adding that, and this relates to the ability to request that the DMV display an alternate address on someone's personal identification card. So again, these provisions already exist to protect law enforcement officers, folks in our justice system, folks in our social service system who, in the course of their duties, may be at risk of retaliation, threats, violence. And this provides some means to reduce the exposure of their information for those that mean them ill intent. And essentially what this bill does is make it clear that public officers may also be entitled to those same protections, and also make it clear that candidates and elected officials may use campaign funds to invest in their own personal security related to the higher risk they face as public officers. So that concludes the bill. We do have a representative from the Secretary of State's office here who can help answer any questions, and thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you so much. We will begin questions from Assemblymember Gonzalez.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for the presentation. You know, as a new mom, I think that has been very difficult in terms of talking about safety as a public officer, so I really appreciate you bringing this forward. I had a question about the CNEs, and I'm just not sure if I was not following correctly. So can you talk about what address we would put in place of reporting on our CNEs, and then with the DMV alternate address too, please? Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the question. Howard Watts for the record. I actually will have to get back to you on the process with the DMV. I'm not familiar with it. Essentially, for anything where it's made confidential, essentially it is redacted from those forms. So it is removed, so it's not visible. So they don't display an alternative address. They essentially redact it and note it as confidential on whether it would be your voter registration record, your assessor record if you have a property that's under your name, or under any candidate filing or candidate related documents.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And sorry, I have a lot of questions. Is this just for current electeds, or let's say I request for this information to be private and then I'm no longer an elected, would that then make my information available?
Thank you for that question. Howard Watts for the record. We may have to get some additional follow-up from legal because I'm not 100% sure on this, but my understanding is this can be taken advantage of by anybody that is in that position. There's also a more open-ended provision for others that may also have direct evidence of being threatened. I know that in those circumstances, the time is limited to 5 years for the provision of that information being confidential. As far as I know, there is not a time limit for the people that are within this list. So once you are a public official and you request for this to be confidential, I think it would be confidential from that point moving forward. If you have previously served in office, this does not explicitly say that it applies to people who formerly held those positions.
Thank you. I also have a brief question. So I see that the intent of the bill is to, especially in that information that's publicized. But as you know, many of us have other professions that we are in, and often some of those professions post pictures and information about their employees. And so that also still makes individuals vulnerable, especially if they know what your profession is or where you work, which often they do. And so could this be used to, because again, anyone can request to have their picture, their name, that kind of stuff removed from employment websites, but often they are not. So I'm just wondering if there would be a way to enforce that when it came to professions.
Thank you for that question, Howard Watts for the record. So as far as I know, there are no statutory provisions laid out like the ones that we see in the various sections of this bill relating to private employers and entities. So this would not explicitly touch that or provide that kind of right by statute. and I will say then, if related to professional licensing and some of that information that is within a state body, there were some initial conversations about broadening the scope outside of these areas that have been very clearly laid out in elections and county documents, because there are also business documents, professional licensing documents. There are a lot of places that our information can get out to. Being that we're in a special session, I think the comfort level was making sure that we apply this to where we already have those protections in place, and then potentially look at broadening that to cover other state or local entities that may also be posting personal information in the future. I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you. Thank you so much. Not seeing any additional questions, I will go ahead and open it up for testimony. Asking anyone that's coming forward to please state their name and spell it clearly so that we have it accurate on the record. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in support? Not seeing anyone here in Carson City or Las Vegas. I will close support testimony and open it up for opposition testimony. Not seeing anyone here in Carson City or in Las Vegas. Literally not seeing anyone. I will close opposition and open it up for neutral testimony. Also not seeing anyone, I will go ahead and close testimony and welcome the bill presenter. And the bill presenter is waiving his opportunity to make any final comments. So with that, I will go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 3. You're welcome. Thank you. With that, members and staff, thank you so much for a very effective and efficient evening. We will adjourn today, and we will begin tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. This meeting is adjourned. You're welcome.